Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here from the future, just to let you guys know that the most recent Capcom collab for Monster Hunter Rise was announced literally a few hours after we were done recording this episode, and that's why we don't really talk about it. In case you're curious and you haven't really seen it yet, it's going to be a Street Fighter collab that features an Akuma layered armor, and it looks pretty neat. It's going to be releasing next Friday. Anyway, here's the podcast. Gaijin, take it away.
Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter, and you're listening to the Third Fleet Podcast, your one-stop source for Monster Hunter news, dad jokes, random gaming discussions, and more. This episode is going to be a wild one, as we'll be talking about some catch-up items with the world of Monster Hunter, but other games we've been playing and other fun adventures we are up to. So sit back, grab a cup of Devil Joe, relax, and let's jump in. Joined here, of course, by the man himself, Shields up, Arm Breakers. It's Rurikhan. How you doing, my friend?
I am doing fantastic. I've actually taken this opportunity to play out some different games because, a lot of people, we talk about the Monster Hunter thing almost as a service because it doesn't have enough content, needs more content, because everybody always wants more Monster Hunter. Let's put it like that. And it's like,
and good.
I think that's a good thing because it means that the games are usually so good that everybody wants more and more and more. And I get it. I myself am kind of like itching for some new Monster Hunter thing, whether that is Rise Ultimate or, more content for Rise that they may end up doing. Like, weren't they supposed to do something at the end of August? I forget. I haven't been looking at the roadmap for a while now.
I think there's going to be another Capcom collaboration.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what it was because I haven't looked at the roadmap. I
don't think they announced what it was, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, but basically, I've been taking that opportunity where we have like this kind of like lull in Monster Hunter stuff, and I've been going back to my roots as an MMO player. I used to play a lot of MMOs, a lot of World of Warcraft, a lot of stuff, and that's something that I've been talking a lot about in my streams, about the stuff that is happening around the MMO world, where there's a lot of things happening around like World of Warcraft, mostly bad news. But that has almost brought about a resurgence in a lot of other MMOs because World of Warcraft's been that game that grabbed people for a long time. And then now that they're kind of like taking a step back and looking at other MMOs. Like, there's actually a lot of interesting things happening around these MMOs. That's been something that I've been doing, and it's been interesting to just get a little bit of a palate cleanser before the next big Monster Hunter thing, where I'll just like put everything aside again. It's like, let's go Monster Hunter again.
Exactly. I don't know if people know this, but I do the same thing. Like, I will go through phases where, in order to avoid what I believe is officially called franchise fatigue, like, I'll go through long periods where I won't play. But it's just to make sure that I'm not oversaturating myself. And also to catch up on games. There's so many good things out there, especially, that carry the same DNA and the stuff that we love from Monster Hunter. So, if you're still playing Monster Hunter games like crazy, like I actually am currently still, great. If you're not, don't feel bad about it.
This week,
trust me, the drugs, the new stuff will be here before we know it, and we'll be all failing to sleep and do other stuff. So
this week, though, I do have some Monster Hunter Rise stuff to talk about. There's a bit of a rant.
I have a bunch as well. I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter.
Yeah, but before we get into that, I also wanted to say that in regards to like guests for the show, because people are always asking for more guests and whatnot. Like, I've been slacking a little bit, you guys, because it's August. My kids are still, they're not back at school. They're having vacation, so spending a lot of time with my kids. When I'm not with my kids, I'm basically live streaming. Doesn't leave a lot of time free for me to like do outreach. Having said that, we do have a couple of people lined up. It's just the timing isn't really lining up for everyone. Like I always like to say, it's very hard to coordinate a podcast with Portugal time zone, Japan time zone, sometimes US time zone for the guest, other times the U time zone for the guest. It's very hectic. Hard. So, because Monster Hunter is a worldwide phenomenon. There's people all over the globe that we definitely want to get in touch with and get on the show.
Yeah, so I won't call anybody out specifically, but I'll say I don't think I've ever seen a comment of someone saying you should get who blah 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 on the podcast.
That we
I think
haven't.
every single time it's like, oh, that's already been on my list. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah,
no one's ever
exactly.
surprised me. Like, oh, that's a good idea. It's like, trust me, we have lots of ideas of who people we'd love to talk to. So
Yeah, it's just a matter of lining up the schedule because, like, if we have, say, for instance, someone from the U, then we have to adjust our schedule so that, oh, you want to come sacrifice your sleeping schedule with me, and you want to come record at midnight. It's like I don't want to push that on anybody else. Like, I'm okay doing it. I've already kind of like planned my life around it. But when you have people from you, we try to go with like a Thursday morning schedule so that it's more convenient for everyone involved. So there's a lot of scheduling there. So if your favorite content creator hasn't showed up in the podcast yet, it's probably only a matter of time, unless they say no.
yeah,
that's pretty much how that's
I'm
gonna
also
go.
on. Yeah, we're also doing summer break here, and I have a hard enough time falling asleep, having time to make stuff. There's just no time in the day, and it's driving me nuts. So it's been tough. So bear with us.
So I actually
But
wanted
hey,
to
look
start.
on the bright side. Every single week we have 2 special guests. We have
Exactly.
myself and Rory.
So I actually want to start this week with a bit of a horror story. So you
Ooh, I
remember-
like horror stories.
You remember how last week I said that I had bought a computer?
Oh yeah, I can't wait to hear the details about this.
So I bought a
This is
computer.
just this whole story. Just I'm going to give you a funny little thing here that
Yeah.
in your head as you're saying this. People always ask me when I tell them about the computer prices and all that kind of stuff here in Japan, and it's being like double anywhere else. I'm like, why don't you just import a computer? I think this story will tell you exactly why I don't do that. But go ahead.
So-
I'm sorry.
So to get us started, let me just tell you guys one thing. I never, actually, I shouldn't say never. Probably at some point I did when I was younger and I had no idea what I'm doing. But ever since I've known my way around a computer, I've never bought a pre-built computer. So I would say for the past 15 years, 16 years, all the computers that I bought, I got the parts, I got the case, I got all the stuff shipped to me, and then I built it myself. That's the way that I like doing it because, for one, it's fun. For a second, you get to know a lot about the computer that you're assembling because, assembling a computer, a lot of people seem to think it's really hard. It's like a Lego. Nowadays, it's pretty much like a Lego. You're just, they even color code a lot of the stuff. It's just like, okay, you put this thing in that thing, and everything just kind of goes in. It's like a Lego. It's not hard at all. So I'm not saying this is like, oh yeah, me, big alpha male, so I'll build my own computer with my big man hands. Like, no, it's super easy. It's like building a Lego.
I think the problem is that we use the word build when it comes to PC, right? When it's really
you assemble. Yeah, you're assembling it
Yeah.
essentially. So
And the hardest part is before you order the stuff because it's all about compatibility
yeah,
and making sure that you have everything that's compatible. That's all.
yeah. So it's like, I'm not saying this because it's hard or anything. It's super easy to set up your own PC. It's not hard at all. The problem is that due to the COVID shortages and the scum people that are the crypto miners that basically just
Yeah.
eat the entirety of the GPU market, these two things combined have made it, I was going to say near impossible, but in my case, it's pretty much impossible to actually get a good GPU at a good, it's literally impossible. Like the most recent case that I have of a friend of mine buying a computer, he paid 2,000 euros for a 3080 Ti. I don't even think it was a Ti. I think it was just like a base 3080. So it's like, it's not even top of the line and it's 2,000 euros. Like that's a lot of money. You guys might be making the 1-to-1 conversion if you're in the US, for $2,000. Like it's way more. It's like 2,300 or 400. I don't know the exact conversion rate at this point, but it's really expensive. So I found this computer, which is a pre-built that I didn't like that idea, but I was like, actually, it wasn't even me that found it. It was someone from my stream found it, Tredian from my stream. He found this computer at a computer place called PC Diga in Portugal, whatever. And it was 3,000 euros for the computer. Already, it was a little bit more than 3,000, very little, because I also bought the operating system because, it's working computer. I want to have all things legit. I don't want to pirate Windows or whatever. So I bought all the things and it had a 6900 XT. I said this last time. I was just I was still going crazy over the fact that it had a 6900 XT because I wanted to get an AMD card. The processor was whatever, it was Ryzen 7. But it's like, it was this really sweet machine that pretty much had most of the things I wanted. I just had to have like some hard drives on it. And so I ordered that, and it actually came like 2 days after we recorded the podcast or something like that. And I was like super happy, super excited. I'm like, oh man, this is great. So I have the PC here, and I'm like, I'm not even going to need the PC right now because first I want to buy the drives and whatnot. But, considering that this thing was shipped, and only after it was shipped, I realized that this company used Portuguese national mail, which is an absolutely atrocious service. Anyone that is from Portugal will confirm this. Our national mail is terrible. Like, I'll give them a zip code and my exact address and they won't be able to find my house. I'm not exaggerating. Like, they actually won't be able to find my house. But on top of it, I know that they treat their packages like absolute garbage. And when you're ordering something as frail as a computer, is like, that's not something that you're going to be happy about. So when I realized that they were the ones, like, the second the computer got here, okay, I got to turn this bad boy on, got to test it, got to make sure that everything is working. So, first problem. I ordered an operating system, and in their website it said, hey, if you order the computer and the operating system, we'll install it for you. Nope.
Oh, no.
So, computer didn't come with operating system installed. That's not really a problem because even if it did, it wouldn't have made a bit of difference for what happened. So, the operating system actually only showed up 2 days after the computer, which is weird. But basically, they shipped it separately. They should have installed it. I was like, whatever, dude. I can install the operating system. It was just going to save me like 1 or 2 hours of messing around with drivers and whatnot. But whatever. Fine. So I'm just like, I just want to see the computer post to make sure that everything is fine. That's what you call when you can see the BIOS screen. You call it, did it post? Okay, good. So I turn on the computer. It doesn't post. And I was like, oh man, here we go. I'm so happy. Oh yeah, I should mention before turning it on, I'm checking the computer and I notice that this computer had a problem, which was the GPU was not properly slotted into the PCI Express card by the time it arrived here. And those of you who know how the PCI Express slot works on a motherboard, it's got like a device to lock the card in place to make sure that it doesn't come off. So imagine, like, I'll just tell you this, considering that the card is bolted down, I mean, not actually like super bolted down, but it's actually like, it's properly secured in the computer. If you were to just like trying to pull it off without taking the lock away, you'd probably damage something. So like that's first red flag. So the thing is off.
Putting on your seatbelt,
Yeah. So the GPU is not properly seated into the computer. And I'm like, okay, so maybe maybe there was a little bit of motion. Maybe something happened. Whatever. I'll just like reseat the GPU. That's fine. So I did that. I unscrewed it, reseated the GPU. Everything seems okay. Then I go and I turn on the computer. It doesn't boot, doesn't do anything, doesn't work at all. I mean, the pretty LEDs light up. You remember how we talked about the LEDs? Those LEDs lit up in all sorts of colors. It even had a button I could press, and it would change the pattern on the LEDs, the color on the LEDs. The only thing I wouldn't get image on was the monitor. Like, I had plenty of LEDs to look at, right? So this computer doesn't boot. It's just not working. And then I started looking at the motherboard manual to see if I could figure out what the error code was. And the Mobo actually had these QLEDs that would tell you the type of error that the computer could potentially be experiencing. And it was something to do with the GPU. And I was like, okay, so at this point, I take out the GPU, obviously shut down the computer, all that, take out the GPU, and I look and I see that the PCI Express slot is like slanted slightly to the side. And I'm just like, okay, so Portuguese Post clearly just like was tossing this thing all over the place, not a care in the world, despite the fact that there's big words on the side that say, "Pisidiga," so it clearly indicates there's a computer in here. Please don't mess this up. No, they destroyed it. They fucking shredded my oh crap, I'm sorry. They just shredded my computer. I'm sorry, I'm very frustrated. And basically after further testing, I realized like this is not salvageable. And the problem is when you have this type of damage, which I think the motherboard was damaged, But not only that, but the motherboard was damaged while the GPU was attached to it, specifically in the GPU slot, which gives it a high probability of there also being damage in the GPU, which may or may not show up appropriately in the testing that they do of the GPU. So basically what I'm saying is, like, for a new computer, I was probably looking at like a nightmare scenario of problems down the line, even if I did accept like the repair. So I went to the shop and I was like, just give me my money back. I quit. I don't want to buy a computer right now. It's like, I don't want to buy a pre-built, and there's no good GPUs on the market for me to actually assemble one myself.
They give you a refund?
Supposedly they're going to. They said they're going to, but you know, this type of stuff can take up to 2 weeks to sort out. So I haven't seen my money yet, and on top of it, I haven't taken the operating system back to them yet, because that came in separately, and I went immediately the next day to sort it out with them. So I still have to go to... So basically what I got out of this is I had to drive to Lisbon once, and I'm going to have to drive to Lisbon again to take the operating system back so that they fully refund everything from me. And it was terrible. I hate everything right now when it comes to computers. I don't want to buy a new computer.
So, I mean, if you're interested in getting into computers, or if you already are, you probably already know about it, but I'd say the most interesting channel out there is Linus Tech Tips.
Yeah.
It's a famous PC channel. They've got tons of stuff. They had a really interesting series that they do like yearly, which is called the PC Secret Shopper Challenge, where it's like a 3-part series where it's really well produced. Well, they'll have someone in the company who's not well tech versed, call and work with the customer service reps for a bunch of different companies, try to order computers, and then they'll simulate mistakes and see if that company would be able to support them and fix it. And it is just jaw-droppingly awful from some of these companies what actually happens. And this last one was hilarious. It was like 9 months ago. It's like called Tech Support Nightmare or something. PC Secret Shopper Part 1, 2, 3. But it's like, it terrifies me. I'm like, I don't think I will ever buy electronics. Well, and also this whole concept of getting your money back and refunding does not exist in Japan. I don't know if you know this. That's the whole, especially America takes this to the extreme. Like, people will play something or buy something, try it, and be like, yeah, it's not for me, and they'll go back and I'm going to return this. I'm like, I hear that, and it's so alien to me, because you don't get to return stuff in Japan. If you want to, you can return it if it's broken, and they'll give you a new one. But they ain't giving you your money back, and they're not going to give you something of the same same price, or no. You'll get the exact same thing, but not broken, and you may have to wait for it.
Yeah, that was the thing, because like, if it was something that I could identify, okay, this is the problem, this is easy to fix. But when I saw that the damage involved both the motherboard and the GPU, I'm like, I'm not putting my money on that. Like, I'm sorry, forget about it. Just give me my money back. I quit, because I don't know what type of fixing they're gonna do. I will say this though: when I went to the store, the guy who was handling my case, like, he was super cool about it. Like, he was the one asking me, okay, so do you want us to repair this, which might take like up to 5 days? Do you want to get your money back? And I'm just like, just give me my money back. Like, that's because like, I didn't tell him, but I was like, I don't believe that you guys are going to be able to fix that properly where I'm not going to have problems in the future. So I'm sorry, but just give me my money back.
Yeah.
But I had
feel
a
bad for those customer service guys though, because like they are the window who get the brunt of what their company screwed up, and it's like they didn't personally do it, so it's like some people go in there screaming and yelling. The
worst part even is that this isn't even their company. This is the Portuguese national mail that because like, listen, this computer came in and it had like printed sheets of everything working, like tests of the GPU and all of that. Like, they had all of this stuff done. They assembled the computer. They installed like a base version of Windows. They benchmarked the GPU to make sure that everything was working fine. So like, I believe that when it was assembled, it was working fine, but during the transportation, they destroyed it. And I was actually talking to the guy, like, why does you guys' company even use the national service? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. Must be like some higher up thing, some contract we have. Yeah. Because like, he started telling me about the nightmare stories of the amount of computers that come back with broken, the side of the computer, which is made out of glass. Yeah. That stuff will be broken so often. And like, if you see the way they pack these computers, like, to me, it's
actually like, going back to that video series I'm recommending. the shipping is a substantial part of that series.
Yeah.
How a company ships it was like, oh my gosh, like the nightmares
No, but
that they go through.
the way in which they ship the computer is actually really well done, to the point where, like, I would argue that I could drop that thing down a flight of stairs and it wouldn't break.
So
I could drop
it down 2 flight of stairs.
I would say someone dropped it off the top of a building or something, because I have no idea how, like, the way that thing was packed, it was actually really well packed. So I don't know how they managed to mess it up that bad to destroy. Wow. There was a hole in the box. On the outer box, there was actually a hole on it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like, it's crazy. It's friggin' insane. I wasn't the one receiving the package, because otherwise I'd be like, dude, what the hell? There's literally a hole in this box. Like, what did you guys do? There's a hole in the box. But luckily there's like 2 boxes, so the PC was in another box inside, but still, it was like,
gosh.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Yikes.
It was insane. So it's going to take me a while to get a new computer. So yeah, it's going to suck.
This is why I will not order PC parts from overseas, even though it would be cheaper for me to buy a GPU or stuff like that from like Amazon US and have it shipped to Japan and pay the customs. It would still be cheaper. But the problem is if anything goes wrong, I'm not going to. You're
screwed. Yeah.
Trying to deal with customer service from another country. Okay, well, mail. No, I don't live in this country. What are you talking about? And blah, I don't want to deal with that. So.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
man, that's brutal.
Yeah, that's my computer story. I have another story about an adventure, but let's talk a little bit about Monster Hunter before that, before people go like, hey, isn't this supposed to be about Monster Hunter? And I actually wanted to drive us towards the point that we brought at the end of the last podcast that we forgot to mention during the last podcast. So this is a little bit late, but it was that thing about the Hey Jay situation and Divine Blessing 5. I'm not exactly sure if there's been an evolution to that, because like I said,
because I've been a little curious. I haven't looked, but I think I was going to say I said my piece, but I'm going to say it again.
Yeah, wait. But before we get into it, let's set the stage for people that aren't aware of this. Okay. So apparently AJ was fighting. What was that he was fighting? Was it Fatalis that he was fighting? And he was No, I think it was
a few. I think this started, what I'm hearing is it started with a stream in which he was fighting a Furious Rajang.
Okay, he was fighting a Furious Rajang, and he was using Divine Blessing 5. And suddenly, and apparently he beat Rajang, right? And people started complaining.
From what I heard is that he beat it, but he got quite lucky, which is exactly why you have that skill.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Some sloppy play and it saves you, but you still, it doesn't do damage to the monster. You still got to go in there and do it. So, I think they managed to take it. I apologize if I get the facts wrong here, because I know more about the problem more than the setup. But apparently, some people in the chat, it rubbed them the wrong way. Probably hurt their egos. That hey, I worked really hard on this hunt, and here's this guy fumbling through, and he managed to kill it. And boy, you're being carried by that skill or something dumb like that. And so it sounds like some people in his chat, not all of them, of course. It's always the bad apples, right? Started giving him a lot of crap about using Divine Blessing level 5. And then, the conversation comes up that he only has 2 monsters left to beat. It's amazing how fast he has progressed in his Monster Hunter journey. His pledge was to defeat every monster solo in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. And he only has Fatalis and Arc-Tempered Velkhana left. I pray for him when it comes to that last one. But so he's going to be doing Fatalis next, which is, I think, the smart move. But he ended up making a video on his YouTube. Again, I love his journals. I think they're great. It's a really interesting idea of how to feel like you're following and watching a streamer without actually having to go back and watch all the playthroughs. Like, he does such a good recap of everything. And it's also really interesting just to hear how the streamer felt in retrospect, because they're talking about something that they've had the time now to process it, right? And I find that fascinating. So, and it's not too long. Like, I love his format, and the editing is usually really funny, in a good way. But he said, okay, you know what? I don't want people to say that my win is illegitimate if I use Divine Blessing level 5 when I take down Fatalis. So, you know what? Fine, I'm not going to use it. I want to entertain. I want to keep my chat happy. So that is what I'm going to do. And that alarmed me so hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? And as I explained I talked to Jay offline as well. I messaged him, but that really rubbed me the wrong way, and I was really upset because, one, the whole beauty of the Fatalis hunt is that it will squeeze everything out of you as a hunter, and this is why it's so satisfying of a hunt. Like, you are on a timer. Like, there's people who have timed out on that quest. Not as strict as AT Velcana, but there is a timer that is pretty strict, especially if you're soloing it. And people, I don't know why people can't understand this, but there's different, I don't know
There's
if the
different
right word
play
is
styles.
I
There's
don't know
different
if
play
it's
styles.
style or disposition, but like, for example, like there's some things that some people are just really good at, and other things that people are just, it just doesn't click for them. Certain play styles, right? And it's you have to tailor your play style to your own.
Yeah, like who plays longsword? Seriously.
I knew you were going to do something like that.
Oh, just you wait. If you're a longsword main, just keep listening to this podcast. You're gonna hate me by the end of it. I'm gonna. Ooh.
Don't worry, guys. I got you guys back.
We'll see. Today I got a good one.
Uh-oh. Okay, so where was I?
Yeah, about the dispositions and whatnot.
So the whole idea is like, the whole idea, the fun about the Fatalis hunt is that it's so strict, but it's also very fair. So like, you have to do a lot of damage. You have to break certain parts, and if you don't do certain things in certain orders, it gets harder. Probably regardless of who you are. So the fun of that hunt to me is like trying all the different. Okay, this normal play style, it ain't working. Okay, let me go in there with Part Breaker. Okay, let me go in there with, Bombardier and try that out. Okay, let me go in there with Tool Specialist 5 and see if maybe the mantles are going to help me be more aggressive. Okay, I am able to be more aggressive. Let's just tack on the attack and Agitator. No, let's try Divine Blessing 5 and get a little bit out of my comfort zone. No, let's try Evasion and Evade Window. Like, that's the point, and that's the beauty of that hunt, is to leave yourself open to different styles and different configs, and eventually, matched with the amount of times you're going to die, your skill level of that monster will go up, and it will all come together in an epic gaming moment you'll never forget, which is when you take that thing down. It's one of the greatest feelings I've ever had in a game. I think it's only maybe rivaled by the desperational success I felt when I beat Sekiro. Like, that was... it just feels like a wall that you can't get over.
Yeah.
But when you get over it, like, oh my gosh, that is so good. But
Seven Swords Ishin, or was it the other one?
The lightning old man in the field.
In the field. Okay, yeah, that's Seven Swords.
Yeah, I don't think I could take down him in the pagoda or whatever. I don't think I could.
It's funny. I think we talked about this before. I had more trouble with the Demon of Hatred, and you were fine with the Demon of Hatred. And then when I got the Ishin,
that's because I
was like,
cheesed the shit out of it. Like, I know all the clipping issues. Like, I'll take advantage of that stuff. I'm not afraid to do that.
But in regards to the
like, I was just like, guys, like, why are you locking him out of, like, guilting him out of using a skill that I would wager money almost that probably well over 50% of people who have soloed Fatalis used that skill specifically, because it allows you to be more aggressive.
50% sounds a little bit high, but there is potential for that happening.
The game sets it up for you, right? Like in HR7, they unlock Gold Rathian. They're basically setting it up, saying, here's some tools to help you be more aggressive against these guys that there's a timer for. If you need it, please use it.
To me, it's more about what type of a message does that actually send to the community. And I'm not talking about Hey Jay. I'm talking about, the people sending this out. It's like, okay, so you don't like to see somebody use Divine Blessing 5. Very well. Do you use Evade Window? Do you use Evade Extender? Do you use literally any defensive skill?
Mantles?
Guard up. Mantles.
Wait, do you Temporal Mantle?
Temporal Mantle? What?
Oh, come on. Why don't you learn the monster, instead of putting on your mantle?
Use Airborne Mantle to get 2 tier 4 decos? Excuse me? Come on.
Wait, you use skills? You use decorations? Like,
wait,
come on,
do you use Divine Blessing on your Rocksteady Mantle, which, like, I think 80% of the Monster Hunter population? Do you use 2 Divine Blessing decos on your Rocksteady Mantle? Excuse me?
It is a horrific message. And also remember, he's blazing through this, so he did not play World when it came out. So, like, he doesn't have a huge mass of decorations either. So he should be, and yeah, it's a general message. You should be allowed to use anything the game gives you at your disposal. And for someone to have an ego trip and try to shame someone because they were using a skill that they personally consider a little too good, I guess, I don't know, is just absolutely ridiculous.
Let me just tell you guys two things here. Number one, during Monster Hunter World Iceborne, I've used Divine Blessing 5 whenever I could fit it in my sets. As a Gunlance main, every time I could fit it in, boom, there it goes. If I couldn't fit it in, then I wouldn't put it. But if I could, I definitely would put it because I can just sit in there and keep shelling and I don't care. And if it hits me, I most likely won't die. Another thing, every time that I could, I would also try getting like, you know how sometimes I think it was random in World, you could get like the Feline Defender High or whatever.
Yeah.
Every time I could get that, you bet your ass I'd get it literally every time, which for those of you that do not know, Feline Defender High, essentially the same thing as Divine Blessing, but to a lesser extent, right? A little bit less powerful than Divine Blessing.
And then you got like Insurance, and then you got Feline, was it Safeguard or whatever?
And on top of it, like if I didn't feel, usually if I was playing long shelling, if I would put like 1 point into defense, because that would also give you a little bit of Divine Blessing as well. Like I would use all the Divine Blessings that I possibly could in a build because like I don't care. On top of it, in Monster Hunter Rise, there's a skill, Dango Defender. Ever since I realized that skill was there, that's pretty much a staple on most of my meals as well. So I'll use that. And to end, you guys want to know how I first killed Fatalis? So the way that I first killed Fatalis was
with the longsword.
No. First time, great sword. And I mean like for my first life, because I take Fortify. So for the first life, great sword. I go in there, I plant the barrels on the exact spot that Fatalis is going to charge through. I think I probably have Bombardier. On top of that, I have heavy artillery on that greatsword set because I unload all of the cannons on him. And then when he falls down, I go down there, get a true charge slash. And then I won't even heal. I will smack him until he'll kill me. And then after he kills me, I go and I get a heavy bow gun. Okay? I get a heavy bow gun and I play clutch cannon until he kills me the second time. Once again, I do not heal. I'll play clutch cannon until he kills me the second time. And then on the third attempt, I'll go in with a sword and shield. And even after all that, after all that, I finished that hunt, I think with like 10 seconds to spare or something like that.
My
and
gosh.
at the end, I was just spamming. I was just die, like attacking with anything that I had. And it felt great. I feel fantastic about that kill. I'll tell you that right now. I do not care. Kill the monster by literally any means necessary. It is what it is.
That's what being a hunter is. I mean, seriously.
And this was before I unlocked any gear out of him.
Like maybe if there was like an exploit or like a bug that allows you to like half his health or something, and if you use that, then I could see being like, well, that doesn't really feel like you beat him because you didn't take on the same challenge as everybody else. But using get out of here, seriously. Like
even
I don't know
like
if they were just trolling or joking, but like that's just bad trolling. That's just stupid.
And there's also this thing. Message. There's also this thing where, we talked about how I do the thing where I want to go in and I want to kill a monster by myself first, unless that monster is killed for 4 people. That's a personal thing. I don't put that on anybody else. Like, if you want to go in your first attempt, you go in with 4 hunters, you should do that, and you should play the game the way that you have fun, or go with 2 hunters, 3 hunters.
The fact that he's played
he's soloing it, right?
Because the thing is, like, I mean, most people don't solo a lot of these things. They do it online, and that's fine as well. It's a hard challenge, and it scales. But
I will say, I think that the whole thing about most people don't solo, I think that's more of a Japan thing. I think in the West, most people try to solo, and I think that is a bit... I know that for me, it's a bit of that Dark Souls mentality, and I think that a lot of people have that as well, where they're like, no. The first time I have to beat it solo, because Dark Souls, I don't know. But again, it's like
I'll actually do the opposite. I mean, I have soloed everything, but I do not mind teaming up with another person for my first time through, and then I will eventually go back and say, okay, now I want to get the solo just for the self accomplishment, and know that I can do it. And it doesn't. I mean, it just
it
again.
Doesn't
I think
matter.
Maybe the people in the chat were just it's an old troll or something, or they thought it was a funny joke and it went too far, but. I got tripped up on it. I was like, this is just ridiculous. So I went on a tweet storm, and while Jay was away on vacation, I think it was hilarious. He must have came back like, wait, what's going on here?
What is Gaijin doing? Well, Gaijin, stop. Gaijin, no more tweets.
Can you imagine the poor guy? Can you imagine he doesn't use Divine Blessing 5, which again I think is stupid to lock yourself out of Playstyles. And then he does it, and then he says, okay, I beat Fatalis without using Divine Blessing 5. It now looks like he is claiming...
Yeah, exactly. That you shouldn't.
Well, if you didn't use it, and that's certainly not his intention. And he's like, yeah, I can see where that could be taken the wrong way. So but I hope... The good thing is 99.9% of everybody who responded to anything I posted... I mean, I guess there's a certain degree of echo chamber, but trust me, there's a good degree of not, because there's a lot of people who follow me who don't agree with my takes.
Yeah.
Like a lot, which is great.
We don't even agree all the time.
Everyone agrees.
I think it's important that you and I don't even agree on a lot of things all the time. It's one of those things that you don't need to go to war. You don't need to go to war with something because you don't agree on something. But yeah.
Yeah, but I would say most people agreed. Like, yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. Anybody trying to shame somebody out of using a skill or something, it sounds like hurt ego or something. I don't know.
It's like I was just gonna say, I think the core takeaway from this is like, look, use whatever skills you want, use whatever weapons you want, unless you're like doing a competition where you're supposed to limit yourself somehow, and it's like upon the rules of this competition, we have decided that these skills are invalid, or you're not supposed to use a palico, whatever. Unless you're doing something like that, specifically a challenge run, like no kill is going to be invalidated. Unless you use longsword, then I'm going to invalidate everything because, it is what it is. I'm joking.
This is one of those. This is one of those things where this is one of the hills I would die on. Like I have no problem making this that strong of a defense and stand, because this is just like common sense. Like, come on, people. Yeah. So hopefully he's figured that out. I don't know. I haven't caught up. I know he's been doing Dark Souls, which has been really fun to watch. He's doing a Dark Souls journey as well. But hopefully that's all just, under the rug now. But hopefully people got a good message out of this, which was, if they've ever run into people like that, you can ignore them. Like that type of feedback and comments is literally not worth your time. It's just ignore them. Thank you for bringing that up. I forgot to mention.
I'm pretty sure that even on my Arch-Tempered build, I don't remember if I had it or not, but on Arch-Tempered Kieran build, my rubber boots build, I probably put Divine Blessing 3 in there as well. Like all the defensive skills, all of them.
I'll just put this out there, like for people who are curious, because I know it. Like again, player disposition and just strengths and weaknesses of each individual player is a real thing in Monster Hunter. Like some people find Alatreon much easier than Fatalis. Some people find Fatalis much easier. Like there's all that kind of stuff. But like for me personally, and I think a good chunk of people, I think AT Valkana is probably the hardest hunt, because that timer is very brutal.
What's the timer? Like, I forgot. It's been so long.
30 minutes. 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think I did time
really
out
brutal.
on my first couple of attempts. Yeah. But I didn't. I do remember I ended up beating her with slap lance, which I was like, yeah. Beat her down with the slap lance.
Weapons that let you stay in close or getting close are really good for that hunt. But if you're not using a weapon that's like that, or if you have a very hard time staying very close, oh man, like that could be a very brutal hunt. So if he were to try it and say, you know what, I'm not going to solo, but I am going to beat her, I wouldn't think anything less, because that, like even Yuna, who is crazy good at Monster Hunter, she may be able to do it now, I don't know, but she tried to solo that hunt and she couldn't do it. She came very close, but even she couldn't do it, and she's she could solo Alatreon and Fatalis, so it's just disposition again. There's certain attacks and strategies that she just doesn't get into that do not help her in that hunt.
I will also say that I remember I farmed that so that I could get because you get that set that also comes with Frost. What's it called? The frost thing that she has where it increases your damage.
Yeah.
I forget the name. So I farmed her for that, and then I remember I was trying to help out a couple of people, and I actually found her harder in multiplayer than solo. Because like she'd have a couple of attacks just like delete these two players, and I was like, no, don't do that. She's like, whoosh, 2 carts.
It's a fun hunt though. I do like it, but
Yeah.
I think it is considered by many to be the final hunt of the game. Because even with Fatalis armor like that, it's not going to be very easy. It's still going to test you pretty hard. But
So,
anyways,
speaking of Yuna, how's the GU journey have been so far?
oh, it's been great. I mean, this whole month has been summer break. So again, outside of work, like she's home all day. She's not going out and playing with other kids because, I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And she's also not that social anyways. Although she does sometimes play with friends and says, okay, I should stop brushing them off because I just want to come home and play Monster Hunter. She's like, I should probably, like, they'd say, let's play. I should probably go out just to keep up the friendship so they don't get the wrong idea.
friendship
like,
maintenance.
I know, exactly, right? I don't want them to get the wrong idea because it's not them. I want to come home and play Monster Hunter is basically what she tells me. Which is just makes me smile so hard. Oh my gosh. But our journey's been going great. Like we now have 3 flavors of Monster Hunter to randomly jump into each day. So our GU journey's been going really good. We've gotten through, we blasted her through low rank village. She's got the high rank village to do on a rainy day. But the most important thing is that she unlocked transmogging, which she really wanted. And you have to do at least a low-rank village to do that. We got through Atal Ka, which she absolutely adored. We've been pretty much just going through all the monsters now that she hasn't faced in G rank, and facing them. And we've been having a little bit of fun making some armor. So this is really fun because I never got to do this in any of my playthroughs of that game, which is like 6 playthroughs. I never made the Nephilim set. I think it's called Nephilim in English as well, but that's the Chaotic Gore Magala set.
I don't think it's called Nephilim set, but I'm not sure.
Japanese is called Nephilim.
I haven't really.
I really like the naming of that. It's so.
You want to know what a Nephilim
Twilight.
is? The first time that I've ever heard the word Nephilim.
When was the first time?
It was in, I don't know if it was Diablo 2 or Diablo 3, but basically the Nephilim is the offspring between an angel and a demon. And that is the player characters of Diablo.
Yeah, I think in traditional mythology, I think it's the offspring of an angel and a human as well is considered a Nephilim. But basically, it's kind of funny. The whole concept of like half of it's like angelic and like Shagaru, and half of it's like brutally different, like Gore Magala, and it's fighting itself. It's like the fallen angel. Like it's so middle school. I love it. It's but we did a bunch of chaotic Magala runs, and we made our full sets, which look awesome. We already finished our full gamut sets before for our visual stuff.
Yeah.
So we've just been having a lot of fun. I think we're trying to go through and max out the Nephilim armor, but each piece requires that special scale from Hyper Gore Magala in G rank, and she's having a really hard time with that monster. She's just like he's really fast. She finds it much easier to use Adept against him than Valor, but she has been using Valor now as her main style of Valor Longsword. Very.
Oh, don't worry, I got some special for all longsword users coming up. They're gonna love it.
I've been using Prowler and Valor Longsword. Those have been my 2 flavors. Prowler because it's just my fallback, and Valor Longsword because I never got into it and I really enjoy it. It's very fun. And we got our Rest Razor longswords and everything. So I think the next journey we're going to do in that game, like, oh my gosh, we went up against Silver Rathalos.
Yeah, it's the one that she hated.
I think this monster.
I think we talked about that in the last podcast.
Yeah. So she still hasn't done Godorathian. And I feel really bad because she really loves those 2 hunts in Iceborne. Like, those monsters are really fun for her.
Dude, when she does Hyper, it's going to be so good.
She knows all about it. She knows all about it, and I will tease her. I'll look, it's like, hey, you see what's on my screen? This is trauma, right here. This quest. They're not only are they super powered, when he breathes and he gets that little flash, you're dead. And the AI has it so that they're always in the same area together. They're always chasing each other. I'm just like, that is a tough, frustrating hunt. So she did not like Silver at all. And I think she's like, maybe someday I'll face and kill it, but she's like, that wasn't fun for me at all.
Maybe Silver didn't like her either. There you go.
But like we've done all the Evil Joe, Savage Joe. She loves a Cantor, and Okanlos were really fun. So we've pretty much ironed it out. I think now it's just playing for leisure and fun.
Yeah.
I do find it really funny that she was like, "Are people still playing this game?" I'm like, "Uh-huh." Now remember, we're region locked. Like that Monster Hunter Double Cross and Generations Ultimate, they cannot play together. So I can't even ask my community to join in and help us. So we're doing all the G rank hunts as 2 people instead of a team of 4, which it's scaled for. It's still not that bad. Soloing it is much harder. Like most of our hunts are over in about 9 to 11 minutes, I think, for G rank, which is pretty good. Mm-hmm. But like hypers have like double the health. It's like 18,000 HP or something. So like the hyper hunts are kind of a pain in the butt if you're only 1 or 2 people. It would be nice to be 3 or 4. But I told her, I was like, certain rooms, people still play. So I was like, watch this. So when we did our Rust Razor grind for the longsword, I just put on an online room with 4, and I put in there, we're farming for shells from the G4 quest. Immediately, room filled up. Every single time. And then I said, watch this. And I changed to a Prowler. Nobody came. Not one person.
It's still.
I said,
they still have cat
people
allergies.
Have cat allergies.
They do.
Exactly.
But
it's not as bad as like in the West. It's much better than it is in Japan, believe it or not. But there is. I remember back when I was playing it in Japan, there would be nice people, and I was the same. We would create rooms and say like, doing this monster, and then we would add in a comment to the room name saying "cat's okay." We don't mind cats, because it was so hard to, like, if you joined in a room, you generally got kicked, and it was just like, that's because of Capcom's marketing. It was wrong.
Yeah.
They said, if you're not good at action games, there is the Prowler. And there is a certain threshold of knowledge that the game does not teach you about the Prowler, that if you don't know,
yeah. Like I told you, I watched your video like 10 times while I was trying to min-max my Prowler. And not even my Prowler. I was trying to min-max my Palicos. And I'd have to, and I still don't know exactly what you say in your video, because it's crazy looking at those sheets with the skills, and I was like, oh God. It's just like, this is approximately what I want. I'll keep this one. This one sounds about right.
Yeah, so GU has been very fun for us. We do go back and we play Rise, and we've been meaning to go and do some more stories too. It's just, again, there's just not enough time in the day.
Yeah, I haven't really touched stories too since the update. No, actually, I did play a little bit more, but it was just like farming a couple of monsters here and there to upgrade weapons and whatnot, because like my roster is still pretty much the same. I'm thinking I might add Bolt Reaver, because Bolt Reaver is so powerful. God, that Bolt Reaver.
Yeah.
But
I thought I was going to get really heavy into like some of the PvP this time, but I think we'll do some more hunts against each other. And I know Yuna wants to face off against you, and that'll be really good fun. But I don't think I found myself. You don't want to engage in
the meta.
Yeah, I'm not really. It's cool that they have it. It reminds me of the first game. It's cool that it's there, but it's not like that's not the meat of the game. So I'm going to continue playing it, and there's some stuff I want to do. I want to make sure I want to clear every subquest, and I'm almost there. And I want to do all the monsters, but like I think most of my journey in that game is done for the most part, and man, have I had a good time. That is it. What a gem of a game. Absolutely. It's like, and to see it selling makes me so happy.
It's like when I first got into Pokemon, because like and when I say get into, I don't mean like, oh man, I got like super into it. I was like, when I was trying to get into Pokemon, this is what I wanted, and this is not what I got at all. But for the people that like Pokemon, it's fine. I'm not going to tease you guys anymore, but I do think.
Did you see the trailer?
You should at least check it out.
The Pokemon,
the new one,
Arceus or whatever.
No. But it looks.
Listen, it looks like a carbon copy of like Monster Hunter Rise.
You know
what
I did see?
Unbelievable.
I saw an article somewhere that said it's the Dark Souls of Pokemon games. It didn't say exactly. It didn't say exactly
God.
that, but it said like this Pokemon game is more like Dark Souls than you think, and I was like, no. I think it was SkillUp, who's another YouTuber. He's a really big YouTuber. He does like game reviews and whatnot, and he's like, game has a death mechanic. It's like Dark Souls.
Dark Souls.
You can die. It's just like Dark Souls.
For that game, they're using an aesthetic that is not nearly as beautiful, but very similar in vibe to Stories 2, to the point that like you see them running around like on a horse Pokemon, and it looks like you're like, okay, is that just like one of those like mock-off games you see in the App Store where they like copy the game? Like it's got incredibly heavy vibes of Stories 2, and then they got stuff where the Pokemon have like red eyes and they're more powerful. It's like the raised monsters. It's like identical.
Oh no!
Then they've got and it's Japanese themed, so the villages all feel like Kamura. They use blue and very Japanese stuff. It's hilarious. But you know what? If it's a happy accident, great. Maybe that explains why we don't have collaborations between the two games, because they don't want to look like they're copying each other. But if they are going to take or run with a vibe, they're using a good game as a base. So like there's nothing wrong with that.
They better deliver though, because if they don't deliver, and if it's not an excellent game after doing all of that, then it's egg in the face. It's just like straight up egg in the face.
Then they had a part where you had a battle, but and the Pokemon says like whatever style, and it pops up with Japanese calligraphy, and it looks like it's doing like the double cross, like striker style.
Oh no!
And like you could, and they had mounts where they're showing like you can ride, you can jump on water, you can ride on your Pokemon.
You could do that. You can do that in previous
Pokemon
games, though. That you could do that in previous Pokemon games.
But watch the trailer, the recent trailer for the game, with the idea, like the lens of, okay, is this kind of like Monster Hunter? And it's just funny.
Dude, that sounds like
I won't discredit the game.
That sounds like a reaction video waiting to happen on my second channel.
You should do that. Yeah, you should. But the thing is like I would generally think that's a good thing, right? Because Pokemon doesn't evolve that much.
Yeah,
if they're
evolving,
doing some substantial changes, that's good.
That is a very good because like I said, I mean, you play like pretty much since X and Y, which was the first one that I played on the 3DS, pretty much since that one, is like the formula hasn't really changed. It's the same thing. Like sometimes the graphics are a little bit prettier, but very little. But from a gameplay standpoint, it's the same thing. So yeah.
Please do a reaction video on it. I would love to see it. It's so funny.
Okay. I'll do that. But yeah, so besides that,
I'll throw this out here now.
Go for it.
Just I'll get it out of the way because it's so niche. But another reason why I have not had time to play everything that I've been wanting to play is because we'll get into some of the stuff later, but the other games I've been playing, but this one is so niche, I'll just get out of the way now. But there's a new mobile game that they announced over a year and a half ago here in Japan.
I'm leaving, Gaijin.
Toho. No, I know.
No, okay. If it's Toho, okay, fine. Because I know that you have a thing for Toho. I'll allow it.
It's Toho Danmaku Kagura, I think. And it's, you know, like those music games where it looks like Guitar Hero. You got like the notes coming down. You slide your fingers. You tap. Thank God the game right now doesn't have those weird ones where you have to swipe in certain directions. I hate those types of mechanics. But there's a Toho music game that's it's a fan made one. It's not like official whatever. But like pretty much all the circles, all the fan groups that make all the sound, you know, the sound. Toho is a big scene, right, when it comes to music and arrangements and stuff like that. So it's like a total fan service game.
Is this
by
the
fans.
one? Is this the one where Yuna's just like God tier at? We talked about
God,
this.
I have a. Oh, did I? There's a clip I have of her from yesterday. I think she needs to be put down before she becomes too powerful. She's going to take over this world. I told her, I was like, your power grows too strong, my child.
She's got those reflexes.
It scares me.
I wish
she's
I was
now
gaming.
Playing stages on lunatic mode, and she's clearing them, and I'm like, you are insane.
I wish I had those, that level of practice when I was younger, because that would have come so much in handy for nowadays. Because my reflexes are not as honed in as they should be.
Yeah,
this is why I use Divine Blessing 5.
So last night we spent 2 hours of her training me, where she was just watching me do a stage. She's like, "We need you to clear another extra difficulty stage with a full combo, a perfect." She's like, let's pick one that you can do. And so she was helping me pick a stage, and she was coaching me like hardcore. And she was yelling at me. She was like, "No, you're doing this wrong," or "Stop doing that," or "Release it earlier," and stuff like that. And so she's trying to help me get closer to the perfect run. And so I went from 22 misses out of, like, I want to say 1,100 notes, down to 3 misses. So I'm very close. I wasn't able to do it last night because fatigue set in, and I'm like, you know what, my age is just not.
You're an old man.
I am. So and you could tweak the speed settings on that game of how fast the notes come, and she's like, if you're feeling burnt out, just pump up the speed. I'm like, wait, what?
Make it go faster.
So like on a scale of 1 to 12, she's playing at like 10.5 tempo. It's ridiculous. It's
Damn.
But I looked at the battery on the iPad, and I'm like, I've played this game over 50 hours in the last 10 days. So if that doesn't tell you, like, that's also eating a substantial amount of my time.
50 hours over the last 10 days?
Yeah.
God damn it.
It's a really good game.
God damn it.
The thing is, like, it's not just, you don't have to buy Toho's special, and that, I think I may have mentioned this, that fans are allowed to create their own remixes and arrangements of songs. The creator lets everybody just do whatever they want, and that's why it's thrived for so long. I think it is the longest running indie franchise in the world. But because of that, they're not charging for the songs at all. In fact, they're not even being that strict on the gachas, like the spinning stuff. It's not that bad at all. What they're trying to do is like a battle pass strategy, which is like there's 3 tiers that you can subscribe to. And then you just get a bunch of rewards as you play through the month. And it's very loose. Like, we had 30 days of rewards, and it's each day. We were done in like 12 days, the 2 of us. We got all the rewards.
But it's like, is it FOMO? So like, does it go away after a while, that pass? So
the pass is good for 1 month.
Yeah, so you buy it for that month, and then at the end of the month, the pass goes away, right?
No. It continues for 30 days or whatever. It's like a 30-day pass or whatever.
Yeah, but after those 30 days, it goes away. Like, say you haven't completed all the objectives, you'd miss out.
Well, actually, they do have a mechanic that if you, for some reason, were not able to complete all the objectives, you can use some of the in-game currency to just, like, brute force and blow through it. Like, you could just spend a little money or spend your in-game resources to just blow through a few days automatically, to catch up. But it was like half tier. It's like if you just play the game for maybe a third of the month, you'll probably get all the rewards. Like it's not very strict.
The thing is, I don't really do battle passes very much, specifically because of the FOMO, which is like you feel like you gotta play to justify the expenditure of the battle pass. And that is one thing that actually turns me off games. Like, for instance, Dauntless is, you know what Dauntless is, right? Because it's that other game that kind of like borrows heavily from Monster Hunter. I used to play a lot of Dauntless for a while. As a matter of fact, I even took a sponsorship for them because I only take sponsorships from stuff that I actually care about, right? So I even took a sponsorship from them, and I was getting really into the game. And then at one point, I remember that it's like, I bought a battle pass, and the battle pass wanted me to do a certain amount of things, and I'm like, I actually don't feel like doing these things. I just don't feel like doing them, right? It's like, for instance, you got to go fight this specific monster. It's almost like, hey, here's a battle pass for Monster Hunter.
Objectives?
Yeah. So they would be tied to objectives. So it's like, it would be something like, you have to go hunt like a Rathalos or a tempered Lunastra or something like that, right? Yeah. It would have a couple of objectives like that, or hunt a lightning behemoth, or hunt this. And the problem was the battle pass did not line up with my objective. So like, I'd want to work on an earth type weapon, and it would send me after lightning behemoths, and I'm that
sounds like a really bad idea.
Opposite of what I want to do. So eventually what ended up happening, I burned out atrociously bad on Dauntless, and I haven't touched it since. And it was specifically because of the battle pass. It was like,
that sounds like a really bad idea. Like for this game, they don't care. There's no objectives to what you do. You get
just play.
Like in-game. You get points for doing anything in the game, whether it's doing the story parts, building. There's like a building thing where you can enjoy some story parts. You can play stages. It doesn't matter what difficulty. You could just, it doesn't matter as long as you're playing the game. It goes up.
I just think that there's such a better way of doing battle passes that would probably even get way more money from me, because then I would probably be like, you know what, this is not so bad. Which I think, I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that, but I think is what they're doing with Halo, which is like Halo Infinite. I think that the battle passes on there are going to be like, you buy a battle pass. And if you don't finish it, doesn't matter. It stays there forever. You can go back and work on it whenever you want.
Yeah, it's like a season thing, right?
Yeah, so you just like, you buy it, whatever, you keep it forever, and then you can go back and you can do it. And it's like, that is what battle passes should be for me. It's like, here's the battle pass. It stays with you forever. If you don't do it now, I can come back and do it later. That to me is a much better way of doing it than the way that, most companies do their battle pass, which is check full of FOMO, which is fear of missing out. It's like, I don't
know how they're going to continue because they just started operating this game. But one of the other things I thought they did good was it is still a character game, so the gacha mechanic is very strong. Like you want to get.
Oh God! There's a battle pass in gacha, Gaijin, stop.
Well, the thing is the funny thing is that the battle pass, not even halfway through the gold pass, you just get flat out a ticket that will let you get the pickup character for the gacha. It'll just give it to you. It's like a free pass. Say, okay, rarest one in whatever that going on. Once a month, you get like one or two of those, and it's like, so they're obviously not trying to push people to spend money on the gachas as much as it is just buy the battle pass and you'll be able to spin the gachas so many times, and you're guaranteed that month to get one character that you really wanted. Like you'll get it. Like don't worry about it.
Curiously enough, the only gacha game that I remember playing in recent memory, which was Genshin Impact, my biggest problem with the game wasn't even the gacha. The problem that I had with the game was that the traversal was so goddamn slow. It was so tediously boring for me to traverse the map that I quit. Having to sit around for like 5 seconds watching my stamina go back up is like, no, I quit. Sorry, it's too much.
Yeah. But I mean, at least at the core of this game, the good thing is a lot of mobile games will devolve into you're using skip tickets to just grind.
Yeah.
This one has skip tickets, but you don't want to use it. The gameplay is fun. It's just a really fun music game, and they've got an unlimited amount of music they can probably pull in and update the scene with. So, as a Toho fan, it's really good.
Let me just
go ahead. It's the most friendly so far. It seems to be the most friendly for people who don't want to spend money. But it's Japan only, and it's Toho, and it's lots of story elements, and so if you don't speak Japanese, I think it would be pretty hard.
And let me just say right now, I'm not responsible if anyone downloads that game and throws their life away into a gacha game. I will not take that responsibility. Zero responsibility. Listen, I do not recommend gachas.
I will say one thing that's been, as a father, has been a little funny / difficult is, I mean, Yuna's 12 now, right? So she's not naive to the world. She knows that certain type of art exists in the world. She's watched violent pieces of media. It doesn't mean that I would openly consume it or show it around her anyways, but it's just kind of funny that the artwork for this one, while mostly tasteful, they are featuring some art from artists that are really pushing it. And so it's kind of like
the lewdness.
Facepalm sometimes when some of the lewdness is just like
the booba.
Like I can't believe they did that. And it's funny because like they'll tweet out like, hey, this month's character card was drawn by this person, and usually I would go and I would follow that person right on Twitter.
You can't.
But so far, every single artist, I click on their thing and I see their media, and there's like full on nudity all over the place. And
you just
really
see
almost,
like in their Twitter bio, you go and you see just like NSFW,
nope.
And you're like, whoops, nope. Can't follow that.
Or in Japan, it would be R18 or whatever. It's just like, can't follow that. So it's like they can't see this, but like this is the general art style. I really like it. Like for the characters I use, and there's some like Yuna likes this one. It's very cool.
Those are like the stuff that I'm looking at on Gaijin's screen right now, guys. It's actually decently animated. Oh, wow. She looks very young.
Yeah, there's a few things in here that I'm not a personal fan of.
Is she a dragon guy?
She's not.
Is she a 1,000-year-old dragon? Okay.
Well, technically, everybody in the universe is, and
a dragon.
The good thing about Toho, no, they're all like they're not human, so they're
okay.
But she's actually a kappa of all things. But
she's a demon.
I will say, the official Zune, the creator, doesn't make these types of lewd stuff, but a lot of the fans make some really borderline. Wow, you have some pedo tendencies or something that's kind of wrong. Which I'm not a fan of, but luckily we were able to just have a good laugh at some of these. We're at an age now where I feel it's not showing nipples or anything, but it's some of the art is lewd, and then we'll just kind of it's a funny groan. But most of the art in the game is really good, but it just leads to a very weird situation as a father to a daughter when we're playing and we get a card and it's just girls ass in your face or big titties, and you're just
oh no.
But she's old enough to understand that's what people do, and we don't shy away from topics in this house.
There's a lot of horny people in Japan, man. It is what it is. That stuff sells. But let me pull us. Let me yank us back.
Yeah, pull us back
into Monster Hunter Land. And
yes, please do, sir.
This week, I dove back into Monster Hunter Rise. I actually streamed a bit of Monster Hunter Rise because one of the good things about taking a bit of a break from Rise is that, the events start stacking up, and then it's okay, so now I have a couple of events to go through. So I went through all of the events. I actually still haven't done the Kushala Daora event because...
I thought you were going to do that.
I wanted to. The problem is that I finished streaming a little bit late, then I went to have dinner, then I came back, and I was okay, I got to prepare for the podcast, but I also have to do all of these things in Final Fantasy XIV that I want to do, so I just played Final Fantasy XIV. But you've also told me that the Kushala Daora quest is not that hard, right? It's just
I was a little disappointed in the fact that I was hoping that they would just make it super Kushala, make it really hard. Yeah. But we didn't find it to be that. I don't know. It's because our sets are maxed out or whatnot, but it could have been harder. But I do believe it might actually be a gold crown guarantee. I don't know because we already had a gold crown going into it, but I saw a lot of comments, people saying, "Hey, well, at least it's a guaranteed crown." And if that's the case, then great. That's a good thing.
I think the Apex quest gets that as well. But I went back and I did all of the events that I had. It was mostly titles and stickers, the rewards. There's one that you can there's one that you can get shades, I think. But that emote, now that you remind me of that emote, I was just oh my god. When I saw my hunter do that emote, I was oh, this looks like this emote is more for female characters than necessarily my hunter.
What voice are you using for your character?
I don't know, the gruff one, the Japanese gruff one.
Okay, because I did a video on YouTube where I showed
they make him a little bit cutesy with it, I think, if I remember correctly. They make him yeah. So I was
like Fugen has a really funny one where he's yeah, in Japanese. It's really funny. And Utsushi, I still haven't played Rise in English, but I've never been a fan of the direction that they took Utsushi's voice in English. In Japanese, he is so over the top and flamboyant and just... It
seems like that'd be perfect.
He has a line that is basically lifted from a maid cafe when he does that, and he goes, "Gojusu-sama." I just muffled that. Sorry, but yeah, he screams and howls and does all these hilarious things in Japanese. I don't know what he does in English, but he's always fun.
So, but I went through and I did all of the events, and there was one event specifically that I was this one was actually a little bit more challenging, which was the Apex Zenogre and Apex Mizutsune. So I'm doing that event, and the first time I go in there with my full offensive Gunland set, and I get my ass kicked.
Yeah, they hit pretty hard.
Oh,
they hit pretty hard.
So I went back to going with that. You remember that set that I made that I think I played with you guys, the one with the two, the pieces from Prowlers Crap. All Mother, not All Mother. Ibushinara, yeah. The Ibushinara was set.
Yeah.
So I did that for my Gunlance, and I was able to beat it. I think I carded like once, because I was able to beat it, and because it was late that day, I was like, okay, I'm pretty happy with this. But then the next day, I was like, no, I'm actually not happy with this at all. I went back in there, and I spent a couple of hours doing that quest because I specifically wanted to beat it with Gunlance, and I wanted to beat it in a way that it felt good. Like, right, it's like you cart, and it's like, doesn't feel good. You know, I got to go back and do it again. So I spent quite a few hours doing that, and, you know, I got to a point where I was getting pretty frustrated, and, you know, my chat was making fun of me and stuff, and I was like, oh, you guys want to make fun of something? Okay. I'll show you guys something to make fun of. I equipped the longsword set.
Chameleos?
I equipped, the Chameleos long. I haven't changed my longsword set, so it's like my default longsword build. I don't know what exactly the pieces are, but it's like you get a ton of crit boost, just like all the usual stuff that you put on a greatsword, right?
What did you do?
And I went in there, and like I played terribly. Like every single attack that could hit me, it hit me in all ways you can possibly imagine. But guess what? I beat them without carding once. And I felt it was easy. Despite the fact that I got hit left, right, and center, I felt it was super easy. Because the difference is I was actually playing a weapon that dealt damage. Because longsword deals damage. Like that was it. I'm not joking. Like because we've been discussing, and I think like if you hear like Chaos Slayer's rants on Twitter, you'll notice that like he's constantly complaining, and he's unlike me, because like I don't go looking at raw numbers and spreadsheets and damn it, I don't look at that stuff, right? I hit the monster with my weapon until the monster dies, and usually I can feel whether or not it takes longer for me to get the monster to get to that point where he dies. Chaos Slayer will actually go in and like math that stuff out, and he's constantly saying, dude, Gunlance is terrible in this game. It is super bad. For those of you who don't know Chaos Slayer, that's the only weapon he plays. As a matter of fact, he's going to be playing Lost Ark, which is an MMO. The only reason he's playing Lost Ark is because there's a class there that's called the Gunlancer. That's literally the only reason. He played Neo, and he's making a build around gun tonfas. That's the only stuff he cares about, right? So, the point here is Gunlance straight up does not deal enough damage for the current, at least compared to like 90% of the other weapons. It just straight up does not push out enough damage. And the fact that I was playing Longsword completely terribly and killed both of them without carding,
so it says less about the longsword and says more about the Gunlance.
Yeah,
the damage output.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you, man, I still find Gunlance fun as hell. Just
it is.
Like, it's really fun. It's just a shame that even if you play good, your hunt times are going to be longer with that weapon. Yeah. Oh no, unfortunate. But
I went back after the longsword attempt and I beat them just fine with my damage set. You know, I wouldn't say that it's like, oh, I mastered the fight, and after that, I didn't master the fight. It's just I probably got better RNG with the moves that they were using or something, and I was able to, you know, go through with it. And I even posted that video on YouTube because I was like, you know, I put like 4 hours into getting this kill. I'm pretty happy with it, so I'm gonna post it. I don't care if someone's like, I did it in like sub 8 minutes. I don't care. It's like whatever. I'm posting this because I thought that was a good fight, and I think that I did okay with the gun. Yeah, it was a good quest because, you know, it kind of motivated me to get in there and just like really start going at it and, you know, trying to min-max everything. And I went through my 3 of my Gunlance builds, right? I was using the Bushinarwa set. I was using my offensive set, which is like a mix of Boggle and I think it's Boggle and a couple of pieces of Teostra to get like some more crit with the Arachna Lance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I went with that one, and I also went with the Strax because that gives you a lot of defense as well as a lot of offense, so that felt like a good balance. But the one that I ended up killing it was with my most offensive Gunlance set possible. I was pretty happy about it, but I was really sad with the fact that I just literally waltzed in there with Longsword, playing complete trash. Not a single counter was made. Nothing. I just went in and just like brute forced my way through it because the weapon deals damage. And it made me so sad. It made me so incredibly sad. It's like, I can beat this thing simply because the weapon deals damage. If only my weapon dealt damage too, that'd be great. Except my weapon doesn't deal damage. It's really sad.
I think that was a good proof of concept hunt, though. Like, it shows that
Oh yeah,
even given the current mechanics that they have or how powerful the hunters are, there are ways they can tweak it to make the monsters harder. And I I liked it. That was by far my favorite event quest that they've done.
yeah.
We did it
I'd
a few
love to
times.
see. I'd love to see more of those. It's also a shame that I know one of the complaints that a lot of people are going to have in regards to that quest is probably it's titles, right? The reward of that is probably titles. I think I don't really see anything
it's the
else.
feeling and sense
Yeah,
of
but it's like,
accomplishment.
yeah, to me it was that, right? Like I spent, like I said, probably total like 4 hours in that quest until I got it killed.
You're not
going to
get some EX Apex armor set or anything like that.
Yeah, but it's like I don't care. I personally don't care. I'm saying like the player base as a whole, they'll probably do that once. They'll be like, yeah, that was fun, done, and they don't do it again.
Done, yeah.
Yeah, so and mine is speedrunners. Obviously, speedrunners going to go in there and probably be like, "Oh, this is challenging. Let's really break this fight down and try to beat it in different ways and whatnot." I can see that happening, but it just makes me wish that Capcom takes a look at balance, because like they've made it super fun. To me, the Gunlance and Rise is hands down the most fun weapon in the game. Like by far, it's not even comparable to any of the other weapons that I play. I mean, thing comes closest is Sword and Shield.
Like, hey.
Yeah. Sword and Shield is also really fun. I was about to bring that up. It's like Sword and Shield comes very close, but like it still doesn't feel as satisfying as Gunlance. The problem is that the damage is just straight up not there. So you don't get the flinches. You don't get. It's very hard to get anything.
I'm an
done
optimist,
with the Gunlance.
as you know. I'm a hopefully optimistic person. So I'm happy that they did the most important part in the base game. They made it fun.
Yeah.
And the movements and everything is fantastic. I think there's enough now. There should be enough data and evidence to them that now if they do an ultimate release, which I certainly believe they will.
They will. Come on.
then if they have an opportunity here to make it perfect, right? They have the opportunity to fix the damage and then complete it out. Where I think if it did good damage but it wasn't that fun, that would be harder to fix in a G release or an ultimate release. So I'm optimistic that I hope that they see that and they buff it and do something with it.
What weapon did you and Yuna use on that fight?
We failed it spectacularly the first time. I think because I can't remember what I was using, but it was a massacre. And Zinogre has always been the bane of her for that game. She's just not good at the monster. But then I switched over to Sword and Shield, which has become my crutch, and because it's just so good.
It's really good.
So that made it very easy for me. So I used Sword and Shield. She used... What the heck did she use? I think she used Longsword. Longsword or... Yeah, I think she used Longsword. So, our second attempt, we got through it pretty good. But it was good. I liked the challenge. It felt really good.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, I'd like to see more events like that, especially like in terms of quality. Because I mean, now that they have those numbers, like really, really thinking about it, like how hard is it to just put out like, I don't know, 10 quests like that, right? It can't be that hard. I mean, you have the maps, you have the monsters, you're not bringing in new monsters. Like imagine them just doing an update where they put 10 quests like that. And maybe,
like advanced.
Maybe give people... And here's the thing, because I know that one of the biggest things with the community is they want the rewards. They want the loot. So it's like, okay, give people like a higher chance at getting like a really good charm straight off the reward screen. Not even materials or anything, just like straight off the reward screen. There's a chance that you get like a really good top tier charm.
Just give them a reason to do it, I guess.
But like, imagine an update like that, right? And I'm also asking you guys in the comment section listening to this now, because, we always talk about this stuff and some people are upset, and I understand they're a little bit disappointed with Rise because they wanted more content. We've went back and forth about this, but imagine just this, right? And think about it in your head. An update brings in 10, maybe even anywhere from 10 to 20 quests like that last event. And each one of those quests has like a chance of giving you like a top tier charm. Maybe even give you a chance to, I was going to say give you a chance to target. So like quest 1, critical eye. Quest 2, critical boost. But I think that's maybe going a little bit too far. I don't think they'd do that. But like just giving you a chance at getting like a really good charm or something like that. Or maybe even additional upgrade on certain weapons here and there. I don't think that'd be too hard. And I think that would be something that would
Yeah,
potentially.
but I don't think they need to go power creep. They just need something, a reward.
Yeah, something there for people to want to do it. Layered armor, something like that. Because like we've also talked about how they've done a lot more store content this time around. It felt like paid DLC and whatnot.
Yeah, like a special color or something like they did with the Deviant system would work really well, I think.
Yeah,
you know, like a special type of two-tone that swaps, you know, like between like green and yellow for doing Thunderlord or something. You know, like just something special. Would be really
that would actually be really cool with bright colors though. Not like the Which game was it? Was World that had the rainbow that was very very dim, right? The rainbow.
Yeah, Generations Ultimate. I'm talking like like bright,
really bright
RBG.
Yeah.
Corsair kind of stuff. Like your
the
computer
LEDs on my computer. No. Dude, listen, in today's market for a brief short time, I held a 6900 XT in my hands. Do you know how that feels?
But it was broken.
Yeah, it was broken.
That was just like the world's like, you know, stepping on your foot and yet laughing at you.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's fine. Right. You know, ups and downs. You got to keep looking forward. It is what it is. So that's pretty much all I did in terms of Monster Hunter. I don't know if you want to bring anything else. There's a couple more topics that we have here on the podcast, guys. Today we're also going to be talking about Monster Hunter Hollywood movie. We have a special segment that we'll save for the end because we're going to go into spoilers of the Hollywood movie. Not yet, but in a bit. We'll warn you well ahead of time. But unless you want to talk more about Monster Hunter, then we have to talk about that other game.
No, I think we're good with Monster Hunter for this week.
So, guys, we gotta
keeping in a very similar vein. This is why I brought up Toho when I did, because that's nothing like Monster Hunter. This next one, though, it might be interesting for fans of Monster Hunter because it's something that I looked over for a very long time.
So, you guys might remember that in the last podcast we talked about how Kegren, one of my viewers, donated so that we'd buy Gaijin Soul Sacrifice. And so basically I kind of
guilt me into playing it.
I guiltied Gaijin into playing Soul Sacrifice. And he's been playing Soul Sacrifice over this last week. And so you tell us, how do you feel about the game now that you've played a little bit more, with my recommendation? I've been telling you over the years that I really like this game. Yeah. This game is really fun. What do you think about it?
So it's really interesting because it's not at all how I thought it would play. It's much different, actually. And then when you told me the developer, I got even more like nervous.
Yeah.
Like
those of you who don't know, this is developed by Concept, who is the same studio behind Mighty No. 9. They did Soul Sacrifice before they did Mighty No. 9, which is weird because like I actually got a little bit excited about Mighty No. 9 because they did Soul Sacrifice, no. But I never got into Mighty No. 9, and I've heard like the horror stories, and I was like, okay, that's fine.
No, but this game, the presentation style and the way that they do things is so unique, and it's very cohesive. This is the type of world building kind of stuff I really dig, right? Like it's not. I love the fact that it feels like an arcade game. I think that's probably why it plays so good. I guess I'm saying in a short thing, I'm really enjoying my time so far.
Yeah.
So the how do I put it? Like it's very obviously designed for a portable experience. They're not hunts. They're like missions against a monster.
Yeah.
I guess they're hunts.
Technically speaking, they're memories. They're memories that are stored in a book, and you're just reliving them so that you learn.
Yeah.
It's almost like the Matrix, right? He jacks you in, and then he goes and is like, I know Kung Fu. It's kind of the same concept here. You relive the memories of this book, and you learn things.
So so I really like how bite-sized they are, but I was also surprised at just the amount of, it's almost like a novel.
Yeah.
Like each stage has a lot of text. Like if you really don't like text and reading and listening to stuff, then maybe, I don't know, maybe you won't like it. But I really like the story setups they do for every chapter, like every quest. It's like fully voice acted. The voice acting in Japanese is fantastic. And so much so that Yuna was over my shoulder. We played from 11 p.m. until 4:30 a.m. the other day.
Yeah.
She was over my shoulder watching it the entire time because we really enjoyed the story. So she watched like the entire Grimm. She watched all of Sanctuary. And it's like a visual. It's like it reminds me of Lost Odyssey, where they have like those dreams where it's text and they didn't voice it then, but it's like a story, like a short story about what's going on, but it's voiced, which makes all the difference.
Oh yeah.
And then you go in there. It's just one map. There's not much travel at all. It's just a big ass arena with maybe 2 areas, and there's just a clear objective, like kill 8 of this or all of these, or go kill the boss. And you could just run to the boss, which is actually a good strategy I found, which is great. And then you just get into a fight, and it's very much reminds me a lot about Monster Hunter. But the cool thing is that instead, and you know all this, and you're probably just laughing on the inside because you're like, yep. Like instead of grinding, like there are still breakable parts and all the good things that we love about Monster Hunter. There are clear tell signs of what the boss is gonna do. They simulate multiplayer really well when you're playing single player. Like you've got NPCs with you, and they're really helpful, very helpful actually. Like you can actually die and they'll come and revive you. I imagine there must be a limit on how many times you can get revived.
Nope. The way that it works is that every time they revive you, they sacrifice half their HP bar. So if they have enough healing spells to get themselves back up, they're good. If they don't, then they're kind of screwed, and eventually they'll die.
Interesting.
And it's the same thing for you. There's also no limit to how many times you can res them, but again, you're sacrificing half your health, and at that point, you have to heal yourself back up. So if you there's a risk reward there, which is like if the boss is close by and you're trying to res somebody, you sacrifice half your health, the boss might hit you might die. That's the thing. And it's like you're still at the start, so things don't really hit that hard at the start, but as you start going up in stars, like it gets pretty ridiculous. Like the point that I'm at right now, I can get one shot.
But I love wow.
Yeah.
Like I don't that's because you're a filthy Avalon player, I think. So.
This is true.
We'll talk about that in a second, but there's a few themes in there that I really, really dig. One, like I was saying, the presentation, like you're basically there's a menu with a book that talks to you, and the book is just so funny.
Yep.
It's like the Necronomicon from like Evil Dead 2 Army of Darkness talking to you and like talking crap to you, like, hey buddy, what are you doing? Like he's really funny. At least in Japanese, he's great. And you got a menu. It's like you're going through all the journal of all the entries, and then you go and relive the scenarios, the voice acting, and the stories are interesting and engaging. But more importantly, like the battle is fun. As you get, it's basically Monster Hunter but with spells, which I think is how you put it to me.
Yep.
So you get 6 skills that you bring in, and you can toggle and use them, and they combo together and do all sorts of fun stuff, and they're all very limited, but you can refresh sort of the usage gauge by killing mob characters and either killing them or saving them. Like the whole theme of sacrifice, like I have not used the mechanic yet, but I love the idea that if you're on a hard boss fight or the boss is almost dead and you're almost dead yourself, there's like a huge dark rite that you could do, which sacrifices part of your body to pretty much, I guess, I would imagine that it just wastes like it's super powerful.
It's
is,
very
like, the
powerful,
consequences,
but it will not straight up
right?
kill it. Yeah, it's the thing is it's fairly easy to reverse the consequences because, like, say for instance, the first spell that you have, I don't remember the actual name of the spell,
yourself on
but
fire.
it's the fire. You basically set the whole arena on fire. Like there's big fire explosion, fire on the boss, fire on you. There's fire everywhere, and you burn your skin. And what that does is it reduces your resistances. All of your resistances get reduced because you don't have skin. You're just like in living flesh. So when you finish the quest, you can basically pay Lacrima and reverse that effect, and you're good. Because the thing is also, when you use that spell, you can't use it again unless you reverse the effects of the spell. And Lacrima, you get...
How expensive is it too?
It's not too expensive, and it scales based on your level. So it's like the higher level you are, the more expensive it gets.
So I should use it then and enjoy the system because I haven't touched it yet.
It'll be fine. You should be fine. It's not a big deal because like you've collected tears from the book, right? The Lacrima stuff.
Yeah. After every mission, you can pretty much go back.
Yeah,
but the tear from the book.
But you'll store them, so it's like you don't have to go back every mission to get it. So like you do 10 missions.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, you'll just store it, and then you go back and you just get a larger chunk of lacrima, so you're fine.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
so they fix the amount. That's really smart.
Yeah, it's like they don't want you to like go out of your okay every time. I got to go back, wipe the tears. Like no. It's like just do whatever you want, and then go back and then pick up as much as you need, and it's whatever. It's not really a big deal. And the thing is, the higher the mission is that you do, the more lacrima you get. So it kind of all balances itself out. It's probably just like a percentage. It's always going to be like some kind of a percentage.
Just don't use it in every hunt as a crutch.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Because there is a price that you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
That persists unless you fix it. Which is interesting.
And you can also use that, say for instance, because when you kill an NPC, right? If you sacrifice, which you haven't been doing because you've been playing, what are they called? Sanctuary? You've been playing Sanctuary. So you're saving everyone. So when you save someone, like, I'm not sure if at that point in the game, they're giving you NPCs that you can take with you to missions. So say, for instance, you kill one of them, you can use lacrima to reverse the result of that quest, and you can go back and save them and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I love the idea that when you kill a mob character or even a boss, and you walk over their dead body, you get a choice of either holding L to save them or pressing R to kill them. Or now
both.
there's a third class, which is like just roll the dice, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
And because just because you rolled the dice does not absolve you from any responsibility of what you just did. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
It's up to fate.
An excuse.
It's up to fate. It's not my choice.
The way I look at it, if they offer you fish or chicken and you say either, like you tell me, that is a choice. You're saying I don't care if you die or you live. Like I'm fine with both. You're choosing both.
Exactly. That's it.
It's like voting for two candidates in an election or something, right? It's like
that's exactly what Grimm does.
But like there's Grimm, which is like balanced. So like it's interesting because there's 3 factions you can belong to, and you can swap between them, I believe.
Yeah.
And there's different effects that happen when you do certain things. So like the most important thing is that spells in the game, you have 6 of them that you bring in with you. And if you overuse it, it'll break and just go away, and you can't use it anymore during that thing, and then you'll have to repair it later
with lacrima.
So use it. Almost reminds me of like Zelda, except like you don't perma lose your stuff. You can just spend that resource to fix it. But the idea is that there's certain actions that you can take that has a chance to restore those uses during the actual battle.
Yeah.
So that you can continue using it and repair it. So like you've got Grimm, which is like the Grimm brothers and their whole thing. It's hilarious seeing like the 3 little pigs and Little Red Riding Hood all reimagined as like horrific, Dark Souls-y, like Dark Souls is a bad example. Lovecraftian kind of like just crazy, grotesque versions of themselves, which I thought was really fun.
And here's the interesting thing. I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but, there is a main story that takes you through all of these things, right? And it's narrated and all that. Yeah. But besides that, like, say you get the story to get to the bit where you go kill the 3 little pigs. You can choose to go to a page in the book that actually has the story of the 3 little pigs.
Yeah, and it's a lot of reading, and really interesting.
But
I don't think that part is narrated.
No, that part is not. That was actually one thing that I was planning on doing. I was getting a bunch of different YouTubers to like voice those stories. And I would give them the story and they would voice it. And I did like, I don't know, for 3 or 4 months or something like that. I read some, I got some people to read others. And I was actually posting that on my channel. Like if you go and look for Soul Sacrifice lore, you'll find some of those things voiced by people. There's even one, I like to bring this one up because like there's a YouTuber who's a friend of mine, he's Stylosa, he basically plays Overwatch. He's got like 700,000 subs, but back in the day, he didn't play Overwatch and he was a lot smaller. So there's a video of him reading the 3 Little Pigs story in my channel. It's just really
But the stories
funny.
are cool. And I think the idea that sorcery and magic is not this wonderful Camelot version. It's a dark path that they're walking down, right? And it's kind of like forbidden arts that they're doing. Mm-hmm. So most of like where you were afraid about where I might get into the game, which you were absolutely correct on, is I was not aware that bosses and all those are actual people. Like they're just like you.
Yep.
They're mages that slowly lost their sanity due to the power that they were wielding, and because of circumstances, they become a monster. So when you kill a boss, you have the choice, do I want to save them or do I want to kill them? and say, hey, their fault, they felt it in darkness. I'm going to get as much power as I can as well so I can plug through. So you've got Grim, which is like you let the game decide what's going to happen, and then
it's random.
You have a chance to refill your
also,
skills.
It also depends, like, if you're with other players. So, like, if you're Grim and you're with another player that's like Avalon, then the other player goes for sacrifice, and you're just like, whatever. It's going to go for a sacrifice. If the other player is blue and you go, whatever, it's going to go for the saving thing. So it doesn't matter. The other players get the choice, basically.
Yeah, so then there's Avalon, which is like a guild. I guess you can call them like a guild almost, right? So like if you're an Avalon alliance, then
you sacrifice.
It's all about power, right? You sacrifice stuff and you get power.
I mean, I think that their story is a little bit like, hey, these people are out of control. We got to put them down. That's the only way to solve this problem.
Yeah, it's like, well, they're already long gone. So it's like,
so we got to put them down.
Let's make sure there's no more casualties, So there's good reasons on both ends, but then you get Sanctuary, which I'm playing, and it's cool because each one of the 3 guilds has their own side stories, and there's a lot of chapters, it seems, for all of them. So you got like your main quest line, but then you have like 3 quests. It almost reminds me of Generations in a way, Monster Hunter, where you have like villages with their subquests.
And here's the thing. On top of that, there's also a whole nother thing, which is you can do in multiplayer. That's just a bunch of more quests that you can do. And then there's also like crossover quests with the games. I haven't even gotten that far into it because I was just doing the single player stuff.
Yeah, but it's interesting because the guild sort of stories, like for Avalon, Grim, and Sanctuary, like the second chapter unlocked for some of them, but like the difficulty looks like it shoots up really fast. So I think the game is telling me, go play the main story. Once you're around the same difficulty ranking, then you can come back and you can do this if you want. Yeah. So there's lots of variation, but like Avalon's about killing, and then Sanctuary, which is what I'm doing, is when you kill a boss, they dissolve back down to their human form, and they're like, please just let me live, just spare me, I'm so sorry. And like I can't bring myself to kill them because it's probably going to happen to my character.
Oh, I killed them all the time.
I'm probably going to go crazy, and I would love to be redeemed by someone who has the power to do so. So there's like, it's kind of reminds me of like Mass Effect, right? You got like this good bar, and you get the bad bar,
and the Renegade.
You get like your left, and you can always see it on the upper left, like you're reading. And I think you're always stuck with at least one level of the red because you are a sorcerer, right? And you had to do something in the game that I won't say.
I think that you're always stuck with one level of red. Yeah.
Yeah, which I like because you're carrying a sin with you because there's something that they force you to do after the end of the tutorial. And it's not something that I necessarily wanted to do, but you're forced to remember that you did it. Because it's always there in the upper left. I have my level 1 with the blood, but then I have 99 on the, like, I'm not 99, but like the rest of it for me is all saving. So I'm like, I think I'm only at like level, I want to say I'm now at 17-1. So it's like a ratio, like 17-1 means that I've leveled up 17 times by saving people.
On the light side, yeah.
On the light side. And so I like the idea of saving these guys, and then I get a little bio of them, and then like, I think they might be able to help me out sometime in the future. You can
most of them you can basically bring with you on quests. I think you can just bring them as your companions.
So like the simulated NPCs as like a multiplayer experience is really fun. I imagine the game would have been much more fun playing with other people, but I don't have that option.
The cool thing is also that you can ask them to sacrifice you when you die. Did you know that?
Why would you want to do that?
Because if they sacrifice you, it triggers a really powerful spell that does a ton of damage, and you get a martyr bonus at the end of the mission.
Wait, can you do that in single player?
Yes. So it's like,
so if you're close, but you'd only want to do that if you're close to beating the boss.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You don't want to go like, oh, I'm going to start the fight, sacrifice myself. It's like the NPCs might still get the kill, but it's going to take too long. So, but it's like if the boss,
do you have to watch all of that in real time afterwards?
Watch what?
Like if you have them martyr you and get more power from you, do you have to watch the 2 NPCs like fighting the boss in real time?
You can abandon the quest if you want to, but you can watch it and see if they can do it. Yeah. Not only that, but you can also help them. After you die, you can help them. Yeah. I know, dude. These mechanics are amazing, aren't they? So it's
how do you help them?
So you can like tap the monster, and that will I think that reduces its resistances, so your NPCs will deal more damage. Or you can tap your NPC only for like short bursts, like you'll tap it and there's like a bar that shows up or something, and then it runs out, and then you have to wait and it refills and you can do it again. So you can tap the boss, and that will reduce his resistances. It'll take more damage, or you can tap your allies, and it will increase their defense and their damage, and it basically buffs or debuffs. But on top of that, have you noticed that there's stuff in the scenarios every now and then that you can interact with, and say sometimes there'll be like a rock, and you can interact with that, and you get like a weapon. Even after you're dead, you can go interact with those things, and you can use them to beat on the boss as a dead spirit.
Wait, so you're still running around if you get sacrificed?
Yeah, you're not running around. Your spirit is running around. So you basically still have control of like your spirit running through the map, but you can like tap the boss to debuff it, tap your allies to buff them, or go grab a spell and go beat on the boss. I think it deals less damage than if you were alive.
Idea.
But yeah, so it's like even players that get sacrificed, they're still useful. They're not like completely useless.
And they're still in the hunt.
Yeah, they're still in the hunt, essentially.
Oh, that's crazy. That's a real... I'm going to have to do that now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Just
and
keep
that
in
doesn't
mind,
mess with... Like, if you have them sacrifice you, that doesn't mess with your leveling.
I don't even think it... I don't even think you have to use Lacrima to recover that. I think it's fine.
Wow.
But because literally every chance I'd get, I'd have sacrifice me, kill me now.
Interesting. Yeah, because I was like, save me, and they come and they save me, but then I noticed that they're doing not as well afterwards. So I guess it's kind of like, which one of us is the weakest link, right? If I'm the weakest link, then I'm going to go and go ahead and give them a boost if I fully died, and
however,
I'll help them out in other ways.
It is important to mention, if you sacrifice, you gain red. But
yeah, I'm not sacrificing them.
But there's a system in the game that allows you to de-level red.
Yeah, no, because the history's still there. You still know that you did it.
Yeah, okay, yes.
Nah. Like, I want to play through the game saving stuff.
So
I think then
the disadvantage...
Then I can do a cheeky... I won't see everything for sure.
No. You can... I think you can see everything.
No, there's special spells and stuff that you only get if you...
Oh, yeah.
You specialized.
No, you can use all the spells. What you can't use is all of the passive bonuses. There are certain things that you can't carve into your arm.
But I want to play through it all, non-renegade, so to say.
Yeah.
And then I think I can get cheeky and say, okay, now for the lulz, I'll go through it and I won't. You don't have to make a new game. You can just reset your stuff.
No, you can right? You can reset. The thing is, it's like it doesn't. There's a level limit of 100. That is 100 of both things added. So it can be 199, you can be 99.1, or you can be like 35,
50.
65, something like that, right? And the way that it works is like de-leveling doesn't cost you anything, but leveling it up, that eats up like all of your Lacrima. So usually you have to re-level manually, because if you try leveling up through Lacrima, you're gonna burn through your whole Lacrima and level up very little.
Yes, you pretty much have to grind back up, but the game does allow you to tweak and fix your alignments and strengths. And so because like one's like, I'm gonna be so tanky by the end of the game because I'm saving everybody and my health and everything's gonna be like, I'll be able to go away from keyboard and just be like, what's up?
The way the game works, so this is the higher you level up in sacrificing, the more offensive you become, so you deal more damage. The higher you level up through blue, which is light, by saving, then you just become tankier with more HP and stuff like that. But each of them has like specialties. So like Gaijin actually really likes the spear spells, which is good because he's saving, and I believe that Sanctuary has the biggest benefits for spear spells. So there's that.
Yeah, the spears are really good. Oh my god! So last night, before bed, I went up against the Cerberus.
Yes, 3-headed dog.
And and he's got like a huge, like, it reminded me of Dogma. He's got a huge spear in his chest, and at near the end of the hunts, he'll pull it out and then start hitting you with it.
Yeah.
And then when you beat him,
you get the spear.
I don't know if it's guaranteed or if it's RNG, but you get the spear.
Yeah,
and I get like 2 of them, so then you can fuse them to make it like like a level 1 version.
Yeah.
Then you can fuse more, and make it so you can grind a quest to make a spell like leveled up. And like his spear thing is interesting because it's more like a magic spell. Like you charge it, and it just goes, and then like a line of energy goes across the ground and zaps and hurts the target.
That's
like
the
super
beauty.
Powerful.
That's the beauty of some of those spells, because like you have the generic version of spells, but then certain monsters will have special versions of spells that are similar, but they will do something special and different that is about that monster.
Yeah.
And the Cerberus fight is really cool.
But everything so far has just been like, this is a really good game. Like,
exactly.
The battle is really fun. Like, you have pretty much with the idea of spells, you have like all traditional weapons. So you have hammers, you have greatsword, you have swords, because you're activating it. And it's like a magical spear or whatever, and then you're in spear mode. And now I can do combos. I can do a charge attack. I can quick open up to a menu and activate stuff like haste, where I'm moving faster. It allows me to do more special attacks with my lance. If the lance is about to break, I'll swap over and be like, okay, now we're going to do projectile magic. So you kind of get to play every single class that you want in the same battle, which is crazy cool. And the more you grind, the more power up they get. There's nothing wasted. So far the battle system has been just incredibly satisfying. And I love the general theme. Yuna gets a kick out of the background music when you're in the menus. And you got, it's like old Victorian. You got like the woman singing like,
it's the soundtrack of it is actually really good as well. It's like overall, it's such a sin that this game is still stuck in the Vita.
Why did they not remaster this?
I don't know. Like I've been screaming at the rooftops.
Idiots. Well, it's Sony we're talking about, so it doesn't surprise me that they don't know what's
I've been screaming at the rooftops, like, how can this game have not... This is one of the best games I've ever played in my life, and it's just sitting there dying on the Vita. Like, there's so many people that don't know about this game that it's insane. It's completely
immediately I could feel that I'm getting hooked on the game, and I'm very pleased with everything so far. World building, battle systems, music, feeling of stuff, the spells, the variation, the voice work. Like, I can't really think of anything right now to diss about the game. Like, I really am having a good time. I mean, the only thing I would say is I wish that they had narrated the encyclopedia stories that you can read.
Jesus Christ.
That would have been nice.
So it's like you haven't even seen like half of the monsters in the game. You have no idea how big that would have to be. The budget required to VO all of that stuff would be insane. Impossible. And it's a Vita game, dude. It's a Vita game. It's never
I'm happy I've kept my Vita because, one, I just kept it because I don't think I had a really good resale value on it. I do now regret the fact that I sold my Vita TV a few years ago because at the time, it was not a very good solution in my opinion. And because the Vita is pretty comfortable to play anyways. But like, I didn't even get that much money for it. But then once they announced that they stopped making it, like now all of a sudden, if I want to go buy a used, it's like $150.
Oh, you were telling me the other day it's going to be like $3 here in Japan.
I used to see it really cheap in the stores. I remember seeing it cheap, but I didn't realize that they no longer make it, and that has shot up the market value of that exponentially.
Listen, I'm waiting for it to be worth like $100,000, and then I'll sell mine. Where the f- I don't even know where I put it. Like, I have it right here. Once this thing is worth $100,000, I'm selling it.
But now it makes me wish that I had an OLED Vita because the game does have some, nice dark colors. But I'm very happy I kept my Vita. It holds the battery very well. It's comfortable. It's a little smaller. I would have liked to have been played on the TV. It makes it easier for you to backseat watch and play. But it is what it is. But I'm having a good time. And there's not enough time in the day.
Exactly.
Like, can I sacrifice parts of my body or my skin to get more hours in the day, please? I would do it. Because, like, I've got, like, Rise is something I still play for fun. Stories 2, I still play for fun. GU, we still have tons of fun stuff to do. I think next we're probably going to do, like, Elder Frost and go all the way up to G5. She's not high enough to do EX yet. Then we've got all my Toho stuff. I have, like, 2 or 3 games that I'm playing there. Now I've got Soul Sacrifice Delta, which I'm playing, which is probably going to keep me busy for... There seems to be a crap load of content. It's almost like... I think the Delta is like the full expansion thing. It's like kind of like...
It's an ultimate version, basically,
Soul Sacrifice Delta is loaded with content.
Yep.
And the Vita store is going to get shut down. So, like, if you have a Vita, go buy it now if you want it digital, because apparently Sony being the asses that they are, we're going to shut down the Vita store
I don't even
which is
think that
ridiculous
there's like.
considering.
I don't think there's a physical version in the West of Soul Sacrifice Delta.
So that's just it. Just
Yeah.
goes into more. Why the hell were they threatening? We're going to shut down the store for Vita. Why? It's got a huge catalog of games, especially
Yeah.
here in Japan.
Yeah.
So like, if you don't buy it now, I don't know how you would get it. So it's like,
It almost makes me wonder. It's like, you know how the Sony is now headquartered in California, right? And how they're way more prude over there when it comes to like the loot content. And the Vita just has so much loot content. In a way, it almost makes me wonder if they're doing it out of spite. Like, you know what? You perverts.
or maybe they're just jealous because Japan has like three
Yeah,
times
dude.
the amount of games that the West got.
Yeah,
But the thing is, like, that should. If you can't buy this game and play it, that would be a crime against
Yeah,
humanity. 'Cause
exactly.
So far, I'm really enjoying it, and it does show me that like studios have their niche. You know, like this. I don't know if it was a good director or producer or both, but the game design here is fantastic. So
it is.
why Concept doesn't just say, you know, it's. I imagine it's because they don't. Do they not own the IP? Was there an investor?
I don't
like Sony
know
behind it?
who owns the IP. I think Sony owns the IP.
Yeah, because they could easily kickstart that shit and get it like for the next gen, like a new one or a remastered version. They could easily kickstart that stuff. 'Cause
It's
it
like,
seems like
you know
it's
how
got
they.
a dedicated small following.
I'm gonna do a hot take here. Some people are gonna be mad at me, but do you know how they remastered Demon Souls because it's a cult classic and it was all that? This game is worth it. It deserves it just as much as Demon Souls to get remastered. It's literally
I'll
on
put it
that
this way:
level.
I've only played the game for like 15 hours or something right now. But if this continues in the trajectory it's going,
Oh yeah,
I would buy a PS5 just to play a new Soul Sacrifice game or a
there you
remastered.
go.
Then I'd probably sell the PS5 afterwards and
It's-
cleanse my
it's
palate.
that-
But I would buy it so I can play it.
Yeah, exactly. It's that good.
It's that good. So I think so far, like you're just laughing because like I haven't seen anything in the game yet, and there's probably so much more I'm gonna
Oh yeah.
gush over and fall in love with. But if I'm already
Especially
this
from
high
a
on it-
story standpoint, like it's gonna blow your mind.
and you know I love horror and I love
Yeah.
gothic stuff, and the designs are great, and I'm gonna eat this up. This is just gonna be another wonderful distraction. So thank you for making it even more impossible for me to get stuff done.
I mean, we do
However,
our best over here.
But I'm going to put out a threat here. So
Okay.
what was it? Kendrin? Or
Kegrin.
Kegrin. So
Yeah.
Kegrin kindly purchased this game for me because I think he wanted me to play it. So thank you
Yeah.
again. But I will get a point. I noticed in your stream the other day
Yeah.
that they said they have not watched Lords of the Ring, any of the films,
Yeah.
which is
Kegrin.
just insanity.
Kegrin's
to me.
weird.
So I will get to a point where maybe I'll just stop playing and say I won't continue until you watch the films.
See, Kegrin. Gaijin's gonna stop
gotta
playing Soul Sacrifice until you watch the Lord of the Rings film. I have to tell you what, Gaijin, thank you very much for making some people in my stream more cultured, because whenever I talk about certain movies or movie references, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I never watched that movie," I'm just like, "Oh my god." Gaijin, please tell me you've watched Reservoir Dogs.
No. Is that an Al Pacino film? I want to say.
No.
Okay, then I have no idea what it is. I've heard the term.
It's a Tarantino film. It's
I don't know.
my favorite movie of all times. Reservoir Dogs.
Okay, well then I'll turn the table on you. Have you seen What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams?
What Dreams May Come. I probably have, but I don't remember it because
He dies and goes to heaven. His wife commits suicide and goes to hell, and he has to get her out.
I think I've seen it. Yeah, but it's one of those things that's been a long time, and my memory is atrocious. But I'm pretty sure I've seen it.
Most people have not seen that, and that is a criminal. That's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I'll rewatch
But
it. Tell you what, I'll rewatch it.
I just recently rewatched the Matrix trilogy, and it aged well. It still is.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
I like
There's certain
Matrix.
movies you watch just because it represents a milestone, I think, in the industry of certain things that they were able to do, and it's just like Lord of the Rings is one of those. It's just
Yeah.
it's great.
Like I actually when I was watching Lord of the Rings, I remember having this thought to myself. It's like, how am I ever going to enjoy movies again? It's not. I'm just never going to be able to enjoy movies again. Like everything that comes after Lord of the Rings is going to be like, yeah, sure, it's okay. It's.
but I guess this leads us into a good new topic for movies.
So guys,
you still have not watched.
I mean,
the Hollywood. Although I will say, don't blame the Americans. The director is British, I think, right? Or
I don't know what he is, but like I haven't watched the Monster Hunter movie yet, and we talked about this in the last podcast. And NCHProductions came in and they said I should watch their version of it, and that they'd like to see a reaction from me on their version. I was like, well,
so
I mean, if you're gonna put it like that, I was like, sure. I watched it on stream, and I had an absolute blast. You know how everybody that watches the Monster Hunter movie, especially you, because like and by the way, guys, we're not in spoiler territory yet, but we will go into it. But like everybody,
we might slip into it at any point at this point.
Yeah. It's probably not going to be very safe after this. So if you care about spoilers on the Monster Hunter movie,
many people,
maybe step out. We're talking about the Hollywood movie, not the Legends of the Guild. We're not going to be talking about that. So it's like, the most surprising thing for me is you are potentially one of the most positive / optimistic persons I know on the whole planet. So when you came into the podcast at one point after watching, you're like, I hate it. It's terrible. I hate it. I was like, wow. Okay, that's got to be really bad. So it was like that thing shot down on my priority list because we already talked about how we have very little time between creating content, taking care of our families, all of that. So it's like it shot way down on my priority of to do that I never got around to it. And so where I see everyone, at least most people complaining that the movie wasn't good and it was a waste of time, my experience watching the reanimated version by NCHProductions was amazing. I loved it.
It'll
give
you
awesome.
An ab workout because you'll laugh your ass off the entire time. It's so funny. I love NCH and all their stuff, but what is scary is also how like it feels like it's exaggerating how crazy some of the setups are. But the thing is they actually pull it off in a way that's even less exaggerated than the movie itself.
Wow.
I know that sounds insane, but it's so fun. And like you were saying, when I watched your whole reaction video, and that was fun to watch as well. It's just like the amount of good, super high quality memes and references that they use to pull off some of these. Now you have to watch the movie. Actually, I'm going to go out and say officially, this is the definitive way to actually watch the Hollywood film is to watch NCH first. Then watch the Hollywood film. Because I think if you watch the Hollywood film, you're going to have a very traumatic experience, probably. Wonderful visuals. Looks great. Visual company. Love it. Everything else, get out of here. Tony Jaa smile. Okay, I'll give him that. That's about it.
Diablos.
But NCH is really fun. And so if you have that, you already have set yourself up emotionally for the craziness that is the movie. Then I think you'll appreciate, and then go back and watch NCH again, and I think you'll appreciate the jokes even more. So I thank them for making me at least happy that I watched the insanely horrible film, and the fact that I was able to understand and enjoy their video even more. But you can enjoy it even if you haven't seen it. It's so accurate. Oh my God.
It was really funny that when I was going through the movie, people in chat kept telling me, oh yeah, that's exactly how it happens in the movie as well. And the worst part was that when I started seeing, it's like we should actually go like chronological, but I don't remember the exact order in which things happen. It's just I remember the things that marked me the most, right? So at the start of the movie, at the start of the movie, they go in a boat, right, going through the sand.
Yeah, they're showing the hunter and the admiral and all them like going across the desert, and Black Diablos is giving them shit.
And then Tony Jaa falls off the boat.
Yeah, he gets knocked out the boat, and they just keep going. Like,
and they just abandon him.
Yep.
It's just like, hey, a hunter down. Well, sucks to be him. See ya, kid. They just leave.
It's okay because he's like the only hunter.
Did they not even notice that he's gone, or did they notice that he's gone and they keep going?
I don't know. It's a chaotic scene. Maybe they didn't have a choice.
Okay.
Maybe they thought if they went back, they'd get killed, but. Whatever the matter is they immediately just separate him from the ship. And no, they don't do any type of character building or storytelling inside the ship. It's literally just a visual set piece.
And is there a hunter in a Rathalos suit that dies in that scene?
Maybe. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know. It's such a chaotic, weird scene. Like
Okay.
it feels so. It's so funny because they're using the imagery of Monster Hunter, and the visual effects are fantastic. But everything they're doing with it is wrong.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you gave somebody like a Barbie doll or like a Lego, and they start making a horror movie out of it and cutting off people's heads or something. I don't know. It's like it's not. It's so out of context. It feels for me.
Yeah.
And it's just offensive. But yeah, so they have that boat scene. He gets knocked off in the desert, and then I love when they switch over to like just like the military going in the desert, and they're like, hey, it's time to go to another world. You're like, wait, no, do they really just cut over? And everyone in the chat, it's like,
Exactly. They literally just like, this thing happens. It's like, oh, now we're in the military, and now we're in Monster Hunter land. There we go. Boom, done.
And it took you a while to call it out, and realize it was the thing. But the like slow motion, tumbling inside of a car.
That happens in the movie.
I would bet there's probably a good 3 or 4 minutes of footage of that's used.
Oh my god! So the zero-G gravity really inside the car. Oh, they really overused that. Yeah,
and how.
It's because the first couple of times I saw it, I was not aware if this was just something that NCH was doing for fun or if it was actually in the movie. Oh. And then after seeing it like 4 or 5 times, I was like, wait, this actually happened in the movie, didn't it? Oh no.
It's bad. Then they arrive in the desert, and then I think you seemed a little shocked at how the whole Nursilla skirmish plays out. Or how just like the whole Tony Jaa not even interacting with the hunters and Diablos, just being a weirdo with them. Trying to kill them off as they shoot them.
The thing that I thought was funny is the Arnie screams when Diablos shows up, because they're just walking through the desert and Diablo's like, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up.
That's exactly how it happens too.
That's like from friggin' Kindergarten Cop when he's screaming at the kids.
Shut up!
And then Diablos goes into the cavern and then just gives everybody the fingers. Like, what is going on? It's so cool.
That's essentially what happened. I mean, there was no instigating factor to rile that monster up. It's just simply existing.
Anywhere
near.
But we all know that Black Diablos. They're in heat. They're just looking for a mate, and they're always upset. Black Diablos is just like that.
There's one thing they didn't show in the animated that they do in the film, which is they basically have it move around as if it's a shark. It's Jaws. They portray it as a monster that lives under the sand for most of its time.
Oh,
and chases you like a shark, but then can come up on land and mess with you.
Which is exactly not how it works at all.
And it's just a mean, loud, crazy monster, which is correct.
So basically, they just looked at like
run into a cave.
They looked at like one Black Diablos hunt and went like, oh yeah, I can see this as a shark going through. Good God, that is so bad.
So they use all this weird, almost biohazard, like Resident Evil level type of, RPG guns and missiles, and they're shooting. Nothing does anything against this monster. And then they eventually just run into a cave. So they basically just kill off a bunch of guys. They go into a cave, and then they all get either killed or cocooned by Nursillas, which is so funny that you notice that when they had all the Nursillas running across the screen, I think they were using a model from Starship Troopers.
Yeah, Starship Troopers.
Which is actually correct in that it was actually the Shogun Gizami. What's his name? The Shogun Senator monster into the blue one. In the actual game, that was actually modeled after the bugs from Starship Troopers.
Oh, I didn't know.
Which is funny, yeah.
Yeah.
But but the thing is like the swarm of 10,000 of them. That's exactly what they do in the film. It's like, wait, why would there be like 5,000 Nursilla?
Oh,
yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like let's show off that we paid to rent a really powerful rending machine because it looks great. It's not Monster Hunter.
It's not at all. And to me the most egregious thing was when I started seeing the big bumps in their back. I was like, oh no. Oh no, it's not gonna. There's not gonna be chest burster Nursillas, is there? And then there's an actual alien coming out. And I was like, oh no! And then the spiders just start coming up. I'm like, dude, I think to me that is the most egregious insult to the Monster Hunter franchise. Is that suddenly Nursilla is a chest burster alien? I'm just like, what is this? This doesn't make any sense.
Well, the thing is, they also portrayed as being like an alien that lives underground in huge matrix-like cocoons and armies of tens of thousands. I'm like, the monster is basically swinging around and jumping on vines throughout the film. Like, it's not, it just lives in the world. It's not this underground, like, vampire who can't, like, they won't touch the sunlight. They, like, run from the sun. I'm like, where the hell did they get that from?
It's a vampire.
So she barely escapes. So there's like 10,000 of these things, and she's just outside a door to a cave, and they won't go and get her because there's sun. It's like,
okay,
really. And then she meets Tony Jaa. They literally fight for 20 minutes probably, and they just portray the thing I hate about the film that I think they captured a little bit in the animated retelling was that everybody is just an asshole in this world. They're really not nice people at all. Like, I kid you not, I'll jump ahead just to make this point, but there's a point where, oh, you know what, I'll wait until we get there, but they're not nice to each other at all.
So you mean the hunters?
Like Tony Jaa, everybody in this world is mean. Just really mean people. I don't know why they did that, but it really rubbed me wrong. So, like, Tony is the hunter. He's obviously realizes, and they establish later, he knows that there's been people from, like, the Bravo team, like, being sucked into their world. Monsters are ravaging not only him, but also these newcomers as well. So it's pretty obvious that he's trying to help them. Because he wants to kill the Diablos. He wants to get back to his people. The ship. So you'd think that he would just team up with her. But no, they just start slugging it out and fighting and trying to kill each other. Like, not even just to, like, dominate you and just be like, I'm your friend, or I'm not a foe. Like, no, they're literally trying to kill each other.
And it's like, that's
Mila
the
Jovovich
part,
has been through so much that she's like superhuman at this point.
That's the part that I just don't understand is how does Tony Jaa just slap Mila's head off? Because he can wield great swords, okay? He's a little bit strong. If he'd slap Mila the right angle, he would knock her head clean off. Like, it should be easy. Hunters have
the thing is
almost
hunters
alt-like
in
strength.
This movie don't. Not in this film, they don't. They're actually weak as hell. There's one class of human, which is Mila. Then there is the people in Monster Hunter and the monsters. Then way down below you have normal humans. So, like, there's a tier. So, like, Mila can get thrown around at high velocity into trucks, walls, through dimensions, thrown down 500
but I think
feet onto the ground. She just gets up. But Tony gets hit in the head once by the car, and he's out for like a week.
But wasn't there like a thing where Mila supposedly is a hunter as well?
She's not. She's a military.
No, but didn't that happen like in the game? Did you do the game event?
Yeah, but I think the story.
I think the game event, and again, don't quote me on this, but if I remember correctly, the game event had an implication where the admiral was basically saying that Mila is actually a hunter. Like, she was I'm not sure. I think Mila was isekai'd into the real world, then became a military, then isekai'd back into Monster Hunter. I think there's some implications of that. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, she doesn't know anything. She knows nothing about hunting in the film.
Yeah, because she was a baby when she went isekai'd into the real world. I'm not sure. But I think that there's something like that. But again, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that is implied.
Well, then it wouldn't explain that. No, what was Tony Jaa born in the USA and then isekai'd into the monster world? Because he's a weakling. Seriously, he gets thrown around and knocked out, and she has to save his ass over and over again. It's like, wait, isn't that backwards?
Yeah, like in the animation, Mila is the one that kills Diablos after he puts like a little bit of the greatsword into Diablo's face. Mila has to go
it's so
and finish the job.
So like. Yeah, so where are they at? So, like, she's with Tony. They have to fight the Diablos.
She gave him chocolate.
Oh, the thing is, like, imagine this. So, Tony Jaa and her are getting into a huge, long fight, which is so stupid because they're both battling the same environment. They wouldn't do that. So, they're having a huge fight, And he set up a camp, and he really can't move because the Diablos will just kill everybody, and including him. So they fight, and then they have her tied up in a cave as he taunts her. He knows that she is dehydrated, starving.
Oh,
she's
wow.
weak. And he's sitting there sipping on fresh water and teasing her like, ha, bitch. Like he's a terrorist. Like he's just like torturing her. And then she goes and she tries to get it. Then he kicks over all the fresh water and just ruins it. And then they start fighting. Like they are just really cruel to each other. And then they start fighting again. And then then she just has this, I'm not your enemy. And then all of a sudden they're cool because she gave him some chocolate, which I've heard some interesting takes about how this could be misinterpreted or can be interpreted as sort of like, typical white person goes to another country, shows them some cool little thing, colonization crap, right? Because that's a real thing. So there's a bad narrative there already. Apparently this chocolate has survived Diablos when no one else could.
And it didn't melt in the desert?
I know, right? But he loves it. He's like, oh, it's so good. Anyway, so he gets a food buff, I guess. They have their plan. They fight Diablos. And it's so funny. Like, they establish so well early in the film that bullets and cannons do nothing against these monsters. Just why she has to learn how to use dual blades and stuff. And what did they do when they get out? She immediately goes for freaking guns again.
Yep.
Immediately. And that becomes the plan. I'm like, what?
And then she shoots the rocket, which suddenly has a lock-on system, even though the actual rocket itself didn't.
I know. Well, then you get stuff like they do all this sequence to get a poison needle from Drusilla so that they can paralyze Diablos, and it basically doesn't work. They just fail. They shoot it in the eyeball, which is grotesque and mean, and then it doesn't even work. And then he just jumps on the head and sticks a sword in. Then he gets knocked away, and literally he's out for like a week, where the same thing times 10 in velocity happens to Mila Jovovich, and she's totally fine. She just gets up like, oh, that sucked. And so she goes and she finishes it off. Then she's got to like take him across the desert and look after him because she's the hero, and he nurses him back to health. And then they literally just walk across the desert, and they're all of a sudden back at a tropical area with Apnatos and stuff. They screw up the So Tasty, which I'm happy about because
how dare they even
touch the phrase.
I still can't believe that she goes, so good. I was like, ruined, destroyed. Why? Why couldn't you just say so tasty?
The other thing you probably don't know at this point, if you haven't seen the film, is that this is all taking place to a very weird Resident Evil techno soundtrack, the entire film.
Oh, no.
I thought that was just for trailers or something. No, that's how they did it.
Yeah, I had heard that there was no proof of a hero, and I was like, how can you...
Yeah.
Is it even a Monster Hunter movie?
It would have been more even rude to the song to include it, so I'm happy they didn't at this point. So it's so stupid. So basically Rathalos shows up, causes a stampede, almost gets them all killed. But, Tony's people come and they help out, right? The Admiral shows up out of nowhere with... It's a switchblade, but he wields it like a great sword.
Switch-axe?
Switch-axe, yeah.
He wields it like a great... You said switchblade. He wields it like a great sword, and then he does a super
so they're not even using the
discharge.
weapons properly. And so he's sitting there with Mila Jovovich as they try to fight off a stampede of Apsaros or whatever that are threatening to kill them, right? And they get through all of this, right? And then he looks at her, she looks at him, and then he punches her in the face and knocks her out. So again, these people are assholes.
Seems reasonable to me.
He knows that, and it's even funnier because he knows about people who have previously transferred into his world. He doesn't like it, but he doesn't want the worlds intermingling, right?
Sounds like the perfect job for. It sounds like the perfect acting job for Ron Perlman. No.
No, he was not. He was not good at it. So then they go and she's a prisoner. They didn't show this so much in the animated one. She's a prisoner on their ship. So they make her a prisoner even though they know that she was working and traveling with their hunter and she was fighting the monsters to survive. They go ahead and make her a prisoner. They mock her and tease her. So this is the weird thing. So Aiden and the serious handler both walk into the jail cell and they start spitting at her and going and teasing her because they're just mean people.
Wow.
They're really mean.
Aiden?
And they're speaking in another language, and they're just being a total asshole, kicking dust at her and, teasing the fact that they'd captured some wild human, even though they're human also.
Oh, no.
And so they're just really mean. She manages to escape captivity, gets up to the deck, has a stupid conversation with the admiral, and said, yeah, okay, well, we got to go take care of the Rathalos because the elders created a time warp machine and they protected it by using a monster as their guardian. I'm like, what?
Wait,
like
what? What elders?
Yes,
the ancient civilization?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, they
no.
hired a Rathalos to protect their super time warping fifth element technology. Like, it is
so the
worst.
ancient technology are the ones that are causing the isekai nonsense.
Yeah. And they have it protected by some super big Rathalos, which for some reason has like poison green breath. I don't know why. But anyway, so they're like, okay, we're gonna go march up there and kick its ass because we got to get you back. I was like, okay. They skip over the entire journey up the mountain because I guess they just got lazy.
Good.
And then they get to a point where they run into Rathalos. Rathalos just immediately kills Aiden, kills the Sirius handler, kills everybody in pretty much just one shot. Like they
Wait, so Aiden dies in the movie?
Yeah. So they included him just so that they can feel like it's authentic. They make him an ass who taunts other people, and then he immediately dies. It's like what
there's
the hell?
There's just
so
no
rude.
respect. There's just no respect whatsoever.
And then they're fighting Rathalos using fire blades, which makes no sense. Then of course so she gets knocked off the mountain for some reason because of the activation of the device.
She gets isekai'd.
She literally falls a mile from the sky, like a kilometer, into the ground. She would die from that.
Yep.
Well, she brushes herself up. All of a sudden, it's, hey, Commander, you're back. And it's the entire military doing an operation, trying to figure out what's going on. And then Rathalos decides, I guess he killed everybody else, and decides to run away into the portal and just kills literally like the entire military.
Yeah.
So it's just a bunch of scenes of like an elementary school kid trying to play out a fantasy with his toys. Rathalos even eats a guy at one point, which they included, which makes no sense. Like he flips him up and goes and eats him. It's so stupid. And the thing is like, it's another thing. He brings down a helicopter in which she's being transported as a patient, and it falls and crashes and blows up. Everyone's dead, and then Mila just stands up.
Yeah, she's fine.
She just stands up. She's like, I have got the T virus. I'm fine. I'm Alice. So
it's all good.
She gets up. Then she goes like face to face, uses the slinger in some obscene way, and then immediately goes to guess what? She's got like the Resident Evil type super gun. So she fires this special cannon into his mouth or something, and basically blows up and pretty much
what
special
Rathalos. Cannon?
It's like it's the typical like really small little device, but it has like some nuclear explosion that it does.
Yeah, because I did see that in the animation. It's like, and Rathalos just goes from being real big to being like, it's like
no, he literally blows up from the inside like a napalm bomb or something. It's just crazy.
And then Tony Jaa shows up.
So he falls over.
Then Tony Jaa shows up and
so
just
he's
like
practically
shoot him.
almost dead. Jaa shows up like, hey, how's it going? And then he has blast arrows and he just finishes it off.
Like Dragon's Dogma style. That's how you solve a problem. You just bring some blast arrows.
I know, right? So, and then everyone else shows up and Ron's like, hey, I don't like you guys invading my world, but I don't like our stuff invading yours, so we're here to help because we're going to make a sequel.
And then Gore Magala shows up.
And then the thing is, like, they're all using different weapons at that point. They have someone show up, I think it's Tony, with an insect glaive without a kinsect, which is, to me, is just rude. And then all of a sudden they see Gore Magala out of nowhere, just like, ugh. And then they all run towards it, cut the credits. Like, that's it. I'm just like, this is the stupidest thing ever.
That is so bad.
And there was a post-credit scene, apparently, that I did not see because I was so upset that I turned it off. But apparently after the credits, there's a scene of, like, a mysterious man in a robe who's behind it all, controlling the monsters. I'm like, are you kidding me? Really?
It's someone from the Guild. I've told you Guild was up to shady shit. They're the ones who made the movie.
It's such an offensive movie to me, just because it disrespects the world of Monster Hunter. no, it's brutal. People die. Yeah, well, shouldn't that just reinforce that people come together
Good
as a
God.
community to not die? Why are they so mean to each other?
That is so bad. There were a couple of things that I wasn't aware of, and I'm actually glad that NCH didn't put that in the animation, because animation is better for it. It's like you don't have to think about the things that are that bad. It's just the things that are bad in a funny way, which makes it way more enjoyable. It's like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, so now between my commentary and you watching the end, you know everything about the movie. So if you want to just have a fun, like, flaming watch, we just watch it and you'd be like, wow, that is even worse than I thought. The visuals, again, are nice. So, I mean, you know, you might get some enjoyment there, but
the disrespect of the Monster Hunter culture is just like so blatant. And I know that some people, maybe people that, you know, are not familiar with Monster Hunter, they're probably not going to be watching this podcast, but some people might have watched and be like, oh, it's just a Monster Hunter crowd being gatekeepy or whatever. It's like, it's not about being gatekeepy, but it's about respecting the franchise. Like, look at the Star Wars sequels. They were terrible because the franchise was simply not respected. It's the same thing. So, yeah.
I don't know. So you get, this is on another level though. So it's like, you know, Netflix animation I loved because
that was good.
Yeah, the animation quality wasn't very good.
There were problems, but there was respect.
The pacing was horrible.
There was respect.
But the story and the setting was like it was Monster Hunter, authentic, and so that means everything to me. So, I mean, what are you gonna do?
At the end of the day, basically what I tell people is, if you've watched the Hollywood movie, you owe it to yourself to watch the NCH, because it's way
so
better.
It
is
good.
Way better than the movie, from what Gaijin is telling me. I haven't even seen the movie.
And it's just, when you watch the movie, go watch NCH again, and you'll love it even more, because you'll appreciate the way that they chose to do some of the jokes is so on point.
Yeah,
it's great.
I'll definitely link it in the description of the podcast for you guys that are curious about it. I mean, although I believe that probably more people, I mean, NCH is
seen it,
NCH is way bigger than me. So it's like by now most people but if you happen to be one of the people that haven't watched it yet, you definitely should, because it is a lot of fun. It is fantastic.
Yeah, like you, I can't believe how much effort and time went into making that thing. That is just it's a film. I mean, it's crazy.
Because that's one of the things that I brought up at the end of my reaction, which is probably some people see that and, you know, it almost looks like it's whatchamacallit, like the style of what's the name of that thing that really South Park, you know? It almost looks a little bit kind of like that, the animation style or not, but it's like people don't understand the amount of work that goes behind doing that level of animation. Like, I know it might look like a little bit of paper clippings and whatnot, and to some people, they're like, come on, that's easy to do. It's not. It's really not. Like, that thing must have taken weeks to put together. 22 minutes of that? Like, people have no idea. It's insane. Yeah.
I love how one guy did all the voices.
Diablos.
So it's really funny is that Yuna and me will still use that as a joke in this house.
Diablos.
We'll look at something and be like, Diablos.
It's good stuff.
But that was a good video to react to, so I was happy you did that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was super fun. And just like, I think chat loved it as well. It was really cool. But guys, that is going to be it for this week's edition of the Third Fleet podcast. Hopefully you guys still enjoyed, even though there's not a whole lot of Monster Hunter news to speak of. We're still going to be continuing to do the podcast. We'll talk about some off-topic stuff, some Monster Hunter stuff. We'll have guests over. When we get to September, it's probably going to be a lot easier for me to plan the guests out because, you know, my kids are going to be in school. Summer break's going to be over. That'll be easier. But do know that we have a lot of people that we want to get into the show. And once the schedules line up, we will have those people on. Thank you all very much for watching. As per usual, links to all the stuff Gaijin going to be in the description. You have anything in the works or still just like enjoying summer break with Yuna?
The fire is very much burning inside of me to create stuff, and there's so much stuff I want to do. I want to do the weapon tutorials still for Rise, even though it's late as hell. I still want to do them. I think there's meaning behind it. There's a few video ideas I really want to do, but I don't have time to do anything.
Yeah.
Like I'm cooking 3 meals a day. I'm working. I'm playing all these other games. I just don't have time. So I'm gonna continue to eat up the family time as much as I can. But I will get back to making stuff at some point. So please don't think that I'm quitting YouTube or anything like that. It's just, you got to prioritize at certain points. So.
And as for me, while we're still under the Monster Hunter lull, I mean, at one point I have a couple of things that I want to put on the channel, but it's probably going to be scripted videos, so it's going to take a while longer. But in the meantime, I've been streaming a lot on Twitch and putting some reactions and other content in my secondary channel, so you guys can check that out. But for now, that's going to be it. Thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe,
and happy hunting.